The regular meeting of the Mishawaka Common Council for Monday, October 3rd, 2022 will please come to order. Good evening. I'm talking as loud as I can. So that's an example of some of the things that we're undoubtedly going to have to work through since it's the first meeting here, the decibels and other items. So bear with us, but we'll try to get it adjusted. In the meantime, if you would, please take a minute and check your cell phone to make sure that you have placed it on vibrate or silence. Since we ourselves have been known to allow them to ring through, we try to check them as well. The other thing that we ask as a matter of decorum is those of you who are wearing hats, although we love to wear hats, we ask that you remove them during the course of our meeting. And then once again this evening, we are inviting members of the public to participate remotely, so we welcome them as well. To that end, members of the public are asked to place their microphone on mute during the meeting, with the exception of any public hearing. At the appropriate point in the public hearing, I will invite the public to unmute their microphone for purposes of submitting such comments as they may wish to make, one person at a time. All persons wishing to make public comments will be asked to first state their name and address for the record, and after completing the comment, members of the public will once again be asked to place their microphone on mute. We thank all of you, whether you're here in person or participating remotely, for your cooperation. With that, in a moment, we're going to ask you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, but we're going to ask you also, if you would, to remain standing. This evening, we're going to have a moment of silence in remembrance of Mike Faulkner. Many of you in the room knew Mike, worked with him, were friends with him. Mike was a lifelong Mishawaka resident who recently passed away. He had served as our parks superintendent for many years and then went on to a distinguished career with School City of Mishawaka as an assistant athletic director and director of operations. So our condolences to Mike and his family, and we'd ask you to join us in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. To the flag, States of America, Republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. DeMade,
Here.
Mr. Hazen,
Here.
Mr. Mamalenti,
Here.
Mr. Benicki,
Here.
Mr. Emmons,
Here.
Mr. Belovich,
Here.
Mr. Compton, Mrs. Volker,
Here.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh.
Here. Before I go further, I'll state for the record that our friend and colleague Tony Hazen is participating remotely in tonight's meeting, and you heard him answer the roll call. Unfortunately, given one of the idiosyncrasies of state law with regard to remote participation on the part of governmental officials, because this evening's agenda has an item on it that falls into the category of the establishment of a fee, after consulting with our council attorney, Mr. Hazen will be participating throughout the meeting, but if we don't hear us call Tony's name from this point forward, it's not that we forgot that he just told us that he was here. It's because he can participate remotely, but he can't participate as a voting member of the meeting from this point forward. And Tony's not hearing that for the first time. I had a conversation with him a couple minutes ago. So we appreciate his understanding as we work through that as well. With that, we'll move into approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of September 19th, 2022. Are there any additions or corrections? Then hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as received from the clerk's office. Petitions, communications, remonstrance, and memorial.
Yes, Mr. President, we have petition number 2022-18 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. Petition for PUD amendment for 5540 North Main Street for a restaurant with drive-through reduced parking and fiber cement board. This petition is signed by Gender Food Services, Inc. owner. We also have a public hearing on vacation 2022-02, required by state statute on behalf of Thomas McLaughlin, Corey Smith, and Aaron Corcoran, the first east-west alley north of Wilson Boulevard between Lot 44 and combined lots 45, 46, 47 in Patel's second edition.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed vacation 2022-02. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward to the podium and begin by stating your name and address for the record. I don't see either the Smiths or the McLaughlins. Brian, if you want to come forward. Sorry, I missed you. All right. Brian, you have the distinction of being the first person to speak at that podium, so congratulations. If you would, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your petition, and then we'll open the floor up to questions from the council.
Basically, just vacating the alley between ours and the neighbor's house. There's been a theft and fence and boulder being hit repeatedly, and wire at risk of being hit. Only ones on it, and by keeping it vacated or getting it vacated, it'll keep the city from having to pave it. It had been offered to be paved by a city department last year, and I guess they didn't get around to considering the paving in the other adjacent alley, but it was discussed with the city.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. McLaughlin? Mrs. Volker.
Hi, Mr. Brown. It's good to see you.
Hi, Kate.
Mr. McLaughlin and I had a chance to talk when I was wandering by one day. So we took a look at the alley, and you showed me the problems that you're having in the back. And I appreciate you taking the time to do that, and I will be voting in favor of it.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. McLaughlin? All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed vacation? If you would, please come forward to the podium. Then is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in favor? Please unmute your microphone. Is there anyone physically present this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in opposition? Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Then at this point, we'll close the public hearing on this matter, and then pursuant to state law, we will vote on the related ordinance later under ordinances on the second reading. With that, we'll move into report of special committee, of which there is none. Ordinances on first reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-34, an ordinance fixing the salaries of certain elected officials of the city of Mishawaka for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2023.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-34 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-35, this is an ordinance fixing the salaries of all employees of the city of Mishawaka except sworn public safety, Mishawaka Park Department, elected officials, and the Mishawaka utilities for the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, for the year beginning January 1st, 2023.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-35 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-36, an ordinance fixing the salaries of all sworn public safety officers for the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, for the year beginning January 1st, 2023.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-36 will also be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee. Resolutions.
Resolution R 2022-24, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, introducing an ordinance for annexation, adopting a written fiscal plan, and a definite policy for annexation for the property located at 14325 Cleveland Road, Granger, Indiana, including 4 tax parcels and the adjacent Cleveland Road and Capitol Avenue public right-of-way.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2022-24. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Good evening, Mr. Prince.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I'm used to being number two. It's a good position to be in. Those of you that got that joke, I appreciate
Yeah,
that. So the first thing I need to clarify, I know a lot of people are here this evening to talk about the potential annexation of this property on Cleveland Road. As you know, but I'll state for the audience, the purpose of a fiscal plan is to identify the city's cost associated with the annexation. It is not actually whether or not the annexation should be approved. It's identifying the costs and the plan in terms of covering the costs for that annexation. So as you know, as part of each annexation request, we route and solicit input for each applicable department that is required to provide service should a property be annexed. In this case, we routed it to engineering for the evaluation of sanitary sewer, transportation, and drainage issues, Mishawaka Electric for electric service, Mishawaka Fire for fire and EMS services, to the Parks and Recreation Department for park services, for the Police Department for obviously police services, for street and central services, for road repair, maintenance, from waste disposal. We contract that service out, but we solicit a response for those services as well. Our wastewater treatment for our wastewater treatment department through Mishawaka Utilities, and from Mishawaka Utilities Water Division for water service. Each applicable department, with the exception of Mishawaka Electric, who notes that American Electric Power has not been willing to compromise or lose any of their property as part of annexation. So when they changed the state law a number of years ago, our boundaries are essentially locked for electric service. But outside of that, each department has identified that they can provide service within the confines of their existing city budget. And to put that in perspective, the proposed property is 60 acres. This is about 0.5% of the 18 square miles that exist in the city. So you can see that the actual impact of the annexation of these 60 acres is relatively de minimis. With that, a key principle of any development proposed annexation is that the infrastructure required is installed at the cost of the developer. So the real cost that will be likely millions of dollars for this property is the extension of sewer, water, and the road improvements associated with the development. And those were specifically going to be borne by the developer. As identified in the draft commission conditions of approval of the planned unit development, the developer is required to perform a traffic study. That dictates the type and scope of the improvements that would occur concurrently with the proposed development. As I would anticipate on this project, there would be turn lanes required, not only a center turn lane, but designated right turn lanes. If a traffic signal was warranted, they would bear that cost as well as part of that development. In terms of the annexation specifics, the property is 27.1% contiguous to the city. This is in excess of the 12.5% minimum required by Indiana code. There's a little of over 2,100 linear feet of property adjacent to the city along its northern border, which is adjacent to the Indiana Toll Road, which was annexed as part of the Beacon Parkway property annexations. For reference, the closest point, other than that adjacent boundary, is the south border, or south of Cleveland Road is the north part of the Penn Family Farm, which is about 1,300 feet south of Cleveland Road. This is also the likely route the developer will take to extend sewer and water to the property. It is the closest point. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on the annexation and fiscal plan.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Prince? Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of proposed resolution 2022-24? If so, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? Is there then anyone in physical attendance this evening who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed resolution? Please come forward. And again, I want to reiterate, at this point, we're talking only about the fiscal plan, so comments that have to do with the annexation itself, I would ask that they be held until we get to that appropriate point in the agenda. We're happy to hear from it. If we can, let's stick to this topic, and then we'll move into the broader discussion later. Again, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed resolution? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in opposition? Thank you. Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Demay,
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti,
Yes.
Mr. Benicki,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mr. Belovich,
Yes.
Mrs. Volker,
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh.
Yes.
The resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 2022-25, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, declaring certain areas within the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, commonly known as vacant land bound by West Front Street, North Hill Street, West First Street, and North Spring Street to be an economic revitalization area and economic development target area for purposes of a real property tax abatement for Front Street LLC and/or ITS assigns.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2022-25. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, President, members of the council. I'm Derek Spear, City Planner. Offices are located here at City Hall on the second floor. Before you tonight is a petition for a tax abatement that was submitted by Front Street LLC. And this is a block that's immediately adjacent to City Hall right here, right to the northwest, if you look out this window. The proposal consists of a mixed-use building. It's a 4-story, 79,000 square foot building with first floor restaurant and commercial space and residential units. The upper floors are going to be exclusively residential. The bottom floor will include 4,600 square feet of commercial space for 3 tenants, 106 to 109 apartment units in the entire building. There'll be a rooftop deck and a 110 parking space surface parking lot. Construction is anticipated to begin this November with a 15-month construction schedule. Completion of the project is expected in spring of 2024. Construction costs are estimated to be approximately $25 million. When the developer brought this project before the Redevelopment Commission in April, there was not an intent to file an abatement. However, since this time, there has been inflationary pressures and increased costs of financing. It has changed the project pro forma, so it led to the filing of the abatement. The developer did propose initially a much larger abatement. They proposed a 10-year abatement at 100%. But what we encouraged was that they file what has historically been approved for residential property tax abatements. We've had 3, 2 in the downtown area, and 1 that was recently from the Mishawaka Inn that was done. And all 3 of those were for 5-year abatements. So the purpose of this abatement is not to further incentivize the project, but has helped to mitigate the increased costs of the financing to allow it to move forward. And this project is located within a TIF district. Last Monday, the Redevelopment Commission considered it and forwarded it to you with a favorable recommendation. And this is just to allow, this is the first of a 2-step process. So this is the declaratory resolution. So as the declaratory resolution, it would just establish the TIF area. So if it's considered and approved tonight, a more detailed financial analysis will be brought before you in 2 weeks when the confirming resolution is out. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Spear? Just to follow up on, and thank you for the information that you always put together on these proposals and your comments this evening. To follow up on your statement and the reference in the staff report to the change in, I'll call them market conditions and the cost of development that's occurred since this originally was considered. I love this idea. I think it's a great location. I think it'll be an added benefit to Mishawaka. But how do those market conditions, as you indicated, we're looking at this area right now and trying to determine under the law whether this should be deemed an economic revitalization area. And as we've talked about before in other hearings, one of the statute, in summary, the statute obligates us to find that this area is undesirable for or impossible normal development and occupancy based upon some other statutory factors. So how, and perhaps I'm being too literal, but how does the market forces that this developer is now subject to impact development in a site where originally they weren't going to ask for tax abatement, and now they are.
And Pat Matthews is with us tonight, so I can have him speak to the specifics on that, on the pro forma. But that was what the conversations that he had with staff as far as the change in the market from April. So,
Well, and I appreciate that. I suppose there's no need to belabor the point tonight, but as this process proceeds, again, I'm inclined to support this, but I'd like to have a little bit more conversation with regard to how it is. And I guess I'll tie it to this strain of thought. We've made significant investment in the River Center. We have incentivized other development, and now things are really starting to cook down here. So anecdotally, people will ask from time to time, well, do we need to provide the same incentives now that we provided in the past, since people are already building and there's already that positive momentum? So not even tonight, but perhaps at the next stage of the process as we advance, if you or the developer can talk a little bit more about that, why is it that we still need to incentivize and to support development in an area that appears to the common man to be taken off and going strong? I think that there is an argument or an explanation to be made, but I'd rather have you and the developer make it than for me to make it. Thank you. Mr. Mamalenti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Spears, for your presentation. I too share the same thoughts and concerns that Mr. Hicksonball had. And prior to his comments, you had made a statement that really struck my interest. I'm going to ask you if you could repeat that. It was something along the lines of, this isn't to incentivize the project, it's more to blank, blank, blank.
to continue to allow it to move forward in the process. So,
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Spear? All right. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? If so, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Pat Matthews. I represent the Front Street LLC and the development project. First of all, I would like to congratulate everybody for this beautiful facility. It's gorgeous, and you should be very, very proud of it. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. We're developing the Front Street building to be named later. Property development, about 108 units, almost 80,000 square feet. It's a unique project. We have a very strong overweight in studio apartments. This project was originally slated for 2020. And back in 2019, it was our original intent to provide market rate development without any financial assistance or ready grants, and we were ready to go. Our initial pre-COVID construction estimate, not including land, soft costs, or financing, was about $10 million back in 2019. And we'd already invested significant expense in design. Then the city asked us to move the building by 35 feet to the east in order to accommodate the planned North Hill expansion and widen that street. And we're excited about this. And we wanted to be a good neighbor and a partner. And we wanted to accommodate this request. Then COVID hit. Since 2019, we've experienced significant cost escalation, both in terms of labor and materials, but also a significant increase in the cost of financing. Our most recent construction estimate, not including land, soft, or financing, has increased more than 48% since the 2019 budget. We performed a market study in 2019 and recently have had that study updated. And the market study updated in June states that demand for market rate apartments is likely to exceed supply over the next 5 years in St. Joseph County. We believe in Mishawaka and want these new market rate units to be built in the downtown area of Mishawaka. I have a little dad joke before we I entertain questions. I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon the other day, and I'm still waiting. The point I'm making with this joke is that it's often which comes first, commercial or housing, and it is always, always, always housing. So we respectfully request that the Mishawaka Redevelopment Commission, which we've already been with, and the council grant us a request for our 5-year property tax abatement. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Matthews and Mrs. Volker?
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Matthews. I might have blanked for a minute. Can you give me the data behind the 48% increase?
I don't have the full market study. I'm sorry, you're referring to the 48% increase.
Right. Give me the context of that again.
That was our vertical construction costs.
Okay.
So that would be from the foundation up to the roof,
And not including financing.
not including financing. That was just a estimate or our bid from our general contractor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Belovich.
Mr. Matthews, that cost, does that include labor as well?
That would be construction labor, not necessarily operating labor. Once the project's complete and we have operations going on.
Any other questions? And sir, thank you for the information that you shared. Going back to the questions that I probably should have asked you instead of poor Mr. Spear, so I apologize to him for posing some of these same questions. What I would take from what you shared with us this evening, and tell me if I'm misunderstanding you, is that even with the positive development that has taken place in close proximity to this site, that there are still some challenges to developing your project down there? Is that accurate?
It's 100% accurate. We're still experiencing challenges. We're experiencing challenges in supply chain issues and delays, which are costly. We're experiencing issues in cost escalation and what I refer to as bricks and sticks and materials, cost of vendors, painters, drywallers, electricians, et cetera. And the cost escalation in our financing.
And I don't want to beat the proverbial dead horse, but wouldn't that be true wherever you were building? You know, what, is there anything that's unique to this site that's being considered this evening? Are there any particular challenges to the site? And if I wasn't clear before, I love your concept. I think it's going to be a great addition to the community. I'm excited that it's going to be part of what we have to offer in downtown Mishawaka. But is there anything unique about that site that would be different if you had chosen to build elsewhere?
Well, generally, when I'm building, I feel like the vertical costs that we're talking about are the same whether you would be here or 2 blocks down the street. There are certainly issues with respect to that individual lot. And we still have several hurdles to go through with planning of the North Hill Street expansion. And we have some water issues. We didn't realize that the elevation of the water table was as high as it is. We also have some risk with respect to site mitigation, and we, in doing some test digs, have still uncovered debris that's remaining from the demolition 20 years ago.
So again, just to make sure I understand you, there are still, even to the layperson, when I look at the development that's taken place, there are still some challenges that are presented by this parcel that wouldn't be present in other places if you had chosen to build there. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay.
And if I may make a comment with respect to the layperson, that's a very good term. People that aren't familiar with development and look out here and see how beautiful it is and what a great job Mishawaka has done, kind of don't realize the amount of effort and work that went behind these projects, both on behalf of the city and the developer. It takes work. We've been working on this project for years.
And we appreciate it, and that's why this layperson likes to ask these kind of questions, since I don't do your work, and I like to further my understanding, so.
I would just like to add one more comment to that. We're not really comparing apples to apples. When these units were built or the existing development was done, it was a different world than it is today.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Benicki.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews, looking through 5 of the top vendors that you're talking about having, looks like a couple of them are construction groups from out of state, not even from Indiana. So are we going to have local people working on this, or are these just general contractors that are going to hire local people? How's it going to work?
That would be correct. We will have general contractors that will be hiring local vendors.
So there was nobody closer than Wisconsin or Michigan that were capable of doing this, or was it a bid process, or?
It certainly was a bid process. We bid DJ, that's done some work down here in the area, and Jordy.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Hicksonball, my question's pretty simple, and I think I know the answer to this, but just for the folks that are here online, this is still currently city-owned property, correct? You don't own that lot, that parcel?
That is correct. We have not closed on the parcel yet.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Matthews? Then thank you, sir, for your patience with us. We appreciate the information.
Thank you for the consideration.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? If so, please come forward.
Mr. President, council members, welcome. Good to see you here. Dave Wood, Mayor, here to speak in favor of proposed resolution 2022-25. This, as Mr. Spears said, is not precedent setting downtown. In fact, we have done this very abatement for somewhat similar kind of development, residential mixed use, on the north side of the river at Mishawaka Avenue. While I will tell you that it's rare that we do residential abatement, and it's even more rare that I would speak in favor of one, I will tell you that downtown is a different kind of issue. As Mr. Matthews had mentioned, this is a former industrial site turned industrial wasteland, turned, clean-ish site, but yet you're still encountering, the things that were buried in the past. The issue with downtown is just that. Now, Mr. Matthews also mentioned that we are at least partially responsible for some of the delay because we are going to do an infrastructure street improvement on Hill Street in front. So that caused a little bit of redesign, a little bit of time delay on his end. So we feel a little partially responsible for that. But you look around the north side of the city in particular, you look at Grandview, where there might be similar kinds of character projects up there, mixed use, residential, restaurant, maybe Toscana, others in that area. They do not ask for abatement, and we have not given abatement. Those are done in Greenfield, where we can maybe assist with some infrastructure along the road, but it's much easier, much more cost-effective to build in areas like that, where there are no such obstructions that we are going to and have encountered here. Downtown, we have not been able to, we've not seen a new residential development happen without incentives. Now, I mentioned River Rock. It has the same abatement that this one is requesting. The mill does not have direct incentive from the city, but it likely would not be here without regional cities injecting about $5 million into that, as well as some other city infrastructure that went into that. The mill Phase 2, they received several $1 million in industrial tax credits because of the very site that it will occupy. It is a former industrial site. So the state has a program that also incentivizes redevelopment of old industrial properties into new uses. And so that the developer in that case was successful in getting some of those funds from the state. But anyway, just wanted to share with you that first of all, we don't ask for or we don't support these things often, but when we do, it's for very good reason. Also, as you know, as all the council members know, this is phased in new taxes. This is not the city just opening up the checkbook and writing a big check to a developer. This is going to be privately owned. The city is selling the property, and this incentive is phased in new taxes as the project is developed and succeeds, which I'm certain that it will. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Mayor Wood? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? Please come forward. Then is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone physically present this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Mr. Mamalenti?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for everyone that has presented this evening and given their thoughts and concerns. Just because it's a declaratory resolution, I'll be voting in favor of this. I'm going to have to do some research and some conversations with some folks if I'm going to be in favor of the confirming resolution. I know we've done those in the past, as the mayor had mentioned. I personally have to look into, I think that this area is already booming, and I don't think that there's really an incentive to come down here, and Mr. Spear said it himself. It's not to incentivize, but it's to allow this project moving forward. So that's where my struggle is. It's just going against what I've approved or voted for in the past for tax abatements. So I will vote in favor of the resolution this evening. Very unsure of how I will move forward in this process. So I just wanted to make that known.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? Mrs. Volker?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out three things. Number one, that property is not producing any taxes at this time, and it has not produced any property taxes for 40 years. So I think that it's about time that the city of Mishawaka starts getting some revenue from this property that we've been taking care of for 40 years. Secondly, I just wanted to comment that Mr. Matthews said that in the next 5 years, there's going to be a shortage of housing, this type of housing in our area. And we're building a community in the downtown area that I think will support that housing. And then thirdly, I just want to say thank you. We really appreciate you taking the risk. Not everybody's willing to take a risk like you're doing in Mishawaka, and I just want to thank you for that. I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. Other comments? Then again, I want to thank everybody for the information that they presented, including Mr. Matthews. I can understand the perspectives of both Mrs. Volker and Mr. Mamalenti. I also am going to vote to advance this in the process. I do feel like the mayor's comments were very helpful as well in terms of tying this back to the site itself and the industrial nature of this site. And I look forward as we move into the next stage of the hearing, perhaps about hearing more about the challenges. Mr. Matthews did a good job. Mr. Spears did a good job. His Honor did a good job. But, you know, really talking about the challenges that are unique and a reality to the site is going to be important to me. Again, I think that this is the type of project that we want to invite into Mishawaka. I think it's going to round out our downtown. Some further conversation about why it is that tax abatement is a benefit that needs to be part of the package. I think we're close, but some further conversation as we move forward will be helpful. So I'll be voting in favor of this evening and look forward to the ongoing dialogue. With that, if there are no other questions or comments from the council, then I will call for the question.
Question?
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaum?
Yes.
The resolution passes 7-0. Resolution R 2022-26, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, declaring a certain area in the City of Mishawaka, Indiana to be an economic revitalization area. Helios Hydraulics Americas LLC, 1811 North Home Street. This is a declaratory resolution.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2022-26. Anyone wishing to speak in favor is already at the podium.
Good evening. Once again, Derek Spear, City Planner, offices at second floor here at City Hall. Declaratory Resolution 2022-26 pertains to two petitions for a tax abatement that has been submitted by Helios Hydraulic Americas LLC. They recently purchased Damon Products. They manufacture hydraulic manifolds, and they're located at 1811 North Home Street. They've been at this facility since 1977. With the acquisition, they are proposing to expand the facility, including a significant building addition and installation of new equipment to expand their current product lines and create new product lines. Total investment in both real estate and manufacturing equipment is $16.3 million. The real property improvements are estimated at $4.8 million, and the building expansion is to include an approximate 53,000 square foot addition to the west side of the building. The personal property abatement is for $11.5 million of primarily new manufacturing equipment and a very limited amount of IT equipment. Construction on the building addition and equipment installation is supposed to begin this year, and completion for the entire project, excuse me, is anticipated during the second quarter of 2026. Currently, Helios Hydraulics, they employ 139 employees, and with this abatement, they anticipate on adding an additional 73 jobs as a result of the expansion. Per the anticipated capital investment and employment growth, staff is recommending a 5-year abatement for both the real and personal property. For the real property abatement, we're recommending a standard phase-in. That's a 20% decline every year over the 5-year abatement, so it would be 100, 80, 60, and so forth over the life of the abatement. For the equipment, we're recommending a little bit higher instead of the standard 20% decline, we're recommending a 10% decline just due to the levels of investment because of the $11.5 million. That's a little bit larger than the investment than we've seen in some of the manufacturing abatements that we've considered and approved. And once again, just like the prior one for the redevelopment of the residential mixed-use building downtown, this is specifically just for the declaratory resolution tonight. So if approved tonight, we will put together a more detailed financial analysis on the tax impacts that this would have to the property and to the city. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Spear? Mr. Belovich.
Mr. Spears, did you mention the number of jobs? If you did.
Yes. They have 139 total, and that's today, and they said that they're estimating an additional 73 jobs.
Thank you.
And folks from Helios is here too with specific questions also.
So I'll try to pick on them if I have a question instead of you, Mr. Spear. Any other questions for Mr. Spear? And no questions, but thank you again for the information that you provided. It's always very helpful. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? Please come forward.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Lori Schweitzer, and I'm from Helios Americas, representing behind me Damon Products as well. And Chris Cole from Helios as well. So we are looking at and expanding our hydraulics product line. We're looking at a couple different states, and we'd like to make Indiana the state. Like Derek had mentioned, it's a $16 million expansion. We intend on investing in our business motto is really in the region for the region, and so we'd like to expand on that. So we'll be using local contractor to do the expansion. We use local suppliers, and we anticipate that that it will significantly increase our volume to those local suppliers and build at least 73 new jobs. We only did a 5-year forecast, but we think it'll go up over that time period.
If we can, let's go one at a time, and we'll see if any of the council members have a question for you, and then we can move on down the line.
Absolutely, sure.
All right. Any questions from the council? Mrs. Volker.
Thank you. Hi. Thanks for all of you for being here tonight. The thing that popped out immediately to me is you indicated that Indiana is a possible location for the business that you're talking about?
Yes.
What is the other state? And
We're
what?
looking at, we're looking at Florida and Ohio as the two other states. So our hydraulics business is in Florida right now. So, like I said, we're looking to expand that business. And those are the three candidates at this time.
So my follow-up question to that would be, and I'm sure I'm asking a question that anybody else would ask, but if this abatement doesn't go through, would that mean that this expansion would take place in Ohio or Florida instead?
I think that at that point, we would have to contemplate further within the organization whether we would expand in Indiana or not. I mean, it's likely that we would, that's actually, I mean, Chris probably should answer
Mind
that.
if I jump in?
Yeah.
Is that appropriate or not?
Let's finish up with one speaker so that.
We were really just here to help with questions.
Yeah.
We're backing her up and helping.
All right.
So I'm the.
Then what we're going to do,
Yeah.
if you want to defer on answering that question, then we can have you.
Yeah, we can defer on
So
that.
that we can have clean minutes. We'll finish with the first speaker. If there are no other questions for this speaker, then someone else can speak in favor. How's that?
Absolutely.
Is there any other questions? Mr. Emmons isn't going to let you escape. He's got a question.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
It's not a question, it's just to state again, what was the amount of money that you're planning to invest? Is it-
So, 16 million,
16.
so 11.5 million in equipment and 4.8 in building expansion.
okay, and what is the square footage of your building?
56,000? 75.
Pardon?
75,000.
75,000? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we hear from the next speaker? Thank you.
Chris Cole with Helios Technologies. I'm just going to address the question. I'm here for questions. So your question was about other states. Currently, Sun Hydraulics is our largest company we own. It's in Sarasota, where the headquarters, where Helios is. There is additional property there. Prior to us finding Damon and negotiating with them for their purchase, we had already engaged with a builder to potentially build a facility there. We've held off on that. We want to build in Indiana. This is where a lot of the customers for these products are close by Indiana. We really believe in when we bring a company into our organization that we're there, it's part of the family, and we want to invest locally where that company is. We have already started the process of working with a local builder here to estimate these costs, and we're ready to go. It's important that you guys look at the tax abatement because it is a big part of our decision. But if you do say no to this, it doesn't mean we're gonna go away. To be fully honest. I mean, we don't know what the answer to that would be.
So when you say, is that all right? So when you say you wouldn't go away, does that mean you?
We're invested in Damon completely. It's about the level of expansion we would do.
Okay. I think that's good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Council? Not so much a question, but a comment. I appreciate your candor. And quite frankly, that doesn't change my opinion. I'd rather have you be upfront about that than to try to
Okay.
indicate that you're going to pack up shop. And that speaks highly of you and your organization, that you're not going to hold your employees hostage, if you will, dependent upon the tax abatement.
Correct.
So
We would not do that.
Thank you for that attitude.
And we expect to expand even in Florida at some point. Maybe not as quick if we end up doing it here.
Yeah.
So,
Nothing against Florida, but Mishawaka is a better place, but I know you have to make some other decisions, but thank you for considering.
and we're probably really glad we're not in the middle of that project there with the hurricanes. that hit last
Absolutely.
week.
Any other questions for this gentleman before we hear from the next speaker?
Mr. Belovich. Just a comment for all four of you. Thank you for coming tonight. I want to say that we have a very good labor climate around here. Mishawaka never shuts down, and we've never had a hurricane in the history of the city.
I'd like to hear that. The employment aspect is something that really makes us excited about Indiana. No doubt about it.
Other questions from the council? Then thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening, Council President. I'm Dave Mishler. I'm the outgoing president of Damon Products. So I just wanted to let the group tonight know really the reason that we picked Helios, my partner and I, to sell to them. It was just a month ago. It was really all about growth. It was about what they would do, not just for new employees, but the opportunities for our existing employees. So it was really all about growth. They had a strategic, definite plans in place on what they would do if we decided to move forward with them, and they were clearly the number one candidate relative to employment, both our current people and then the community. We typically hire unskilled labor for manufacturing, and we have a robust training program that we put them through that to become really excellent machinists. So that's been our model since 1977, and we'll continue down that path. So I just want to let you know they were clearly head and shoulders above all the other suitors for Damon, and it's really just about the people.
Thank you. Any questions? And just a comment, sir. Damon has been before this body before and asked and received a tax abatement. And it's referenced in the staff report, and I think Mr. Spear even mentioned it, but we can't say it too often. You surpassed what you told us you were going to do in terms of the number of people that you hired and the payroll that you brought online in Mishawaka. So Damon is a success story. It looks like you found a good partner for the next step evolutionarily wise in the business. So, but we appreciate what you have done to be a good corporate citizen of Mishawaka at this point in time.
Thank you.
And with that, if there are no other questions, we'll move to the next speaker. Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Checking it out. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? If so, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone in attendance this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Mrs. Volker.
Just, thank you. Just quickly, I happened to have a conversation with one of Damon Product, now Helios employees, and he is very excited about the future.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade,
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti,
Yes.
Mr. Bednicki,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mr. Belovich,
Yes.
Mr. Compton, I'm sorry, don't answer that. Mrs. Volker,
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh.
Yes.
The resolution passes 7-0. Resolution R 2022-27, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, authorizing the City of Mishawaka Redevelopment Commission to sell municipally owned property in accordance with the City of Mishawaka Municipal Code, Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 3, Section 2-492 and 493. This is authorizing the sale of city property, the current police station.
Thank you. We'll now move into the public hearing on proposed resolution 2022-27. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Mr. President, members of council, Ken Prince, Director of Planning and Community Development. The property, as you're aware, that we're talking about is the soon-to-be former Mishawaka Police Station. This is at 200 North Church Street. In preparation for opening this facility, last winter, we went out with an offering sheet, and I need to describe kind of the process through the redevelopment commission. So normally, when you're a public or a private entity, if you have a piece of land or property, you would hire a realtor and essentially sell it to the highest bidder unless there were extenuating circumstances involved. State law affords the redevelopment commission additional latitude to prepare an offering sheet of what you want to see on the property as part of the potential sale. So as part of the potential sale, consistent with our River Center master plan, we identified we wanted a mixed-use facility on that property. We identified that we wanted shared parking as part of our use of that facility because it's downtown. And we solicited proposals for the appraised value of 1.7 million and received one offer for 500,000. The 500,000 also then, in terms of the offering sheet, identified what they are going to be putting into the building for the remodel. And that was $2 million to go into the remodel of the building. The proposed user is Cressy Never Commercial for their corporate offices, as well as for an unnamed restaurant, wine bar, high-end that would go into that building. Mr. Chris Fielding said he was going to attend tonight because we have quite a crowd. I didn't see him, but I'm sure that Mr. Fielding can present the specifics of the proposal, but I can tell you from the city perspective, from the city staff administration perspective, we were very happy with the offer that we had received because it fit into our master plan. Going back to the highest price versus the project going in, I use the example of the self-lock storage facility, $20 million that's being built on State Road 23. There is an incredibly high market for self-lock storage right now. The office market is very poor, suffering the effects of COVID. So if you can imagine, we would not want to offer the police station for a remodel that wouldn't be consistent with that plan, is the only reason I bring up the self-lock storage. And because of that, the one offer, we are recommending the sale of the property at the $500,000 offered. We do have a development agreement that's been approved from the Redevelopment Commission with Cressy and Ever Commercial that was distributed. Tonight is really, we're only asking for your authorization for sale. If that authorization is not granted, essentially we'll go back to the drawing board and look for another offer on the property. But again, the intent would be to go out with a similar offering sheet, and at this point in time, we're not soliciting for a better offer, if you can imagine that.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Prince? Then one comment, Mr. Prince. In the past, when we've had transactions come before us, there have been some that have been related to a purchase price much less than $500,000. You know, there have been times where, and you've always done a good job of helping explain to us and the public why at times that's in, many times, why that's in the city's long-term best interest to structure a transaction that way. And I agree with that. But I'm also pleased that this transaction has that $500,000 purchase price component. This, again, is another bit of good news for downtown Mishawaka and an exciting addition to what we can offer down here. But I appreciate the fact that not every transaction is always a dollar transaction, that we look at things on a case-by-case basis and make decisions in the best interest of the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I would also note to that point, the highest that we've sold any property down here previously, I believe, was $20,000. So.
Excellent. Anything else for Mr. Prince? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? If so, please come forward to the podium.
Good evening. First of all, Chris Fielding, 318 East 3rd Street, Mishawaka. And as a longtime resident of Mishawaka, congratulations on this facility. This is much more representative of where we want our city to be in the next 20 years than the previous facility. So thank you for the investment. Cressy's long been a part of the fabric of this community in Mishawaka, going all the way back to University Park Mall, Edison Lakes, Main Street, half a Grape Road. This is just a continuing investment in this community on our behalf. We have approximately 93 employees now. So our intent is to move out of Edison Lakes and move our headquarters into this facility in downtown Mishawaka. We believe with all of the apartments and multifamily development that's happening in downtown, the one thing that's been missing until this facility opened was a corporate presence in the downtown that has employees and customers that spend their money from 8 to 5 versus the retailers and restaurateurs waiting until 5 o'clock for people to get off and come to their establishment. So we feel like this fits really well into the master plan. Our employees are very excited. Our board's very excited. And this is a 50-year play for our company. So we have no intent of occupying the building and flipping it. We'll be here for decades. So we appreciate the continued partnership.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Fielding? Mr. Mamalenti?
Thank you, Mr. President. Not a question, but give you a sincere thank you for your investment and your interest in supporting our downtown efforts and continuing our master plan. And we welcome you with open arms if this passes.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? If so, please come forward to the podium. Then is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone physically present this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, oh, Mrs. Volker, I'm sorry.
Nope, it's okay. I just wanted to also say thank you to Chrissy and Everett for making an investment in downtown Mishawaka, and I can't wait for a wine bar because it's about 4 blocks from my house, so I can walk there, have some wine, and walk home. And I think I have some friends in the audience who'll do the same thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the council? If not, then I call for the question.
Question?
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Demay?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Higginbotham?
Yes.
Resolution passes 720. Resolution R 2022-28, a joint resolution of the City of Mishawaka Mayor, Clerk, and Common Council supporting Inspire Mishawaka in its efforts to catalyze growth in activity and commerce in our historic downtown in partnership with the Indiana Main Street Program.
Thank you. We'll now move into the public hearing on proposed resolution 2022-28. I'm sorry, anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. President, Council, Clerk, and Mayor. Brian Tanner, 525 Calhoun Street, Mishawaka, representing Inspire Mishawaka as the President of the Board of Directors. Joined here today by actually a few of our board members on various sides of the bench, as so to speak. Inspire Mishawaka is a relatively new 501c3 nonprofit community organization. It's going to be something that's probably unrecognizable to many folks, but we hope to change that rather rapidly. As was mentioned by the clerk, in the premise of this joint resolution, we are seeking the support of city elected officials for the actual intent of Inspire Mishawaka, the primary intent being that we become a Main Streets accredited community in the state of Indiana. Unlike most nonprofits, which are purely independent and in most cases enjoy a happenstance partnership with the community that they reside within, Main Streets accredited communities must have, and in this case, hopefully will have, a strong partnership between the independent 501c3 nonprofit Inspire Mishawaka and the elected officials in the government as a whole. It is a program that is run by the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, and it is a structured program that enables all partners who become accredited to receive resources, support from many peer organizations from, I believe it's approaching, if not just a little over 100 communities in the state of Indiana that are accredited Main Streets communities. One of the additional benefits to becoming a Main Streets community is that it also opens up some tax incentives and some potential grant opportunities specifically for historic properties in our downtown area. To that end, Inspire Mishawaka is an organization which grew out of a committee effort within the Mishawaka Business Association. Many of you have been familiar with the Mishawaka Business Association, or maybe even members for a number of years, but that is an organization which has grown over decades and represents communities and businesses that simply do business in the city of Mishawaka. Inspire Mishawaka has a particular focus on downtown. within a historic landmark district, and with that strong partnership with the community in order to establish it as a Main Streets accredited organization, open up these opportunities for downtown businesses, enhance the activities that thus far have been performed and made available by the city, for the city. But this is a community-driven effort to supplement that and also provide some other incentives for our downtown community. With that said, I'd be open to any questions you may have regarding the resolution or Inspire Mishawaka as a whole.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Tanner? Mr. Tanner, thank you for the information and for bringing this to us this evening, and also your work. I know that it started way back before the pandemic and then went in a slightly different direction based upon that and some other factors. But thank you to you and Mrs. Burbank and the other members of the Board of Directors of the MBA for following up on this and nudging this forward in the process.
And thank you to the council clerk and mayor for sponsoring our recent outdoor movie night event that we had, that we enjoyed several hundred members of our community at. And it was a successful event in part because of your support of that event. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Our pleasure. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? If so, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone physically present who wishes to speak in opposition? And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then Mrs. Wolfer?
Sorry,
Wait till you
I'm
can.
a little
sorry
late to
about
the
that.
table. Anyway, I just wanted to say I'm really happy that Inspire Mishawaka is moving forward. After our meetings in 2019 and then COVID putting a stop to everything, I'm really happy that you were able to get it started again. And I know as chair of the Historic Commission, we're looking forward to supporting you as well.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the council? And hearing none, I'll call for the question.
Question?
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
The resolution passes 7-0.
Ordinances on second reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-22, an ordinance annexing contiguous territory to the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, and providing zoning classification therefore. This is annexation and rezone to S2 PUD for commercial use, 14325 Cleveland Road, and this is a vote only this evening.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Land Use Planning, to whom referred the matter proposed of ordinance number 2022-22, report that they have examined said matter and in their opinion, it should be presented to the council as a whole. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for acceptance.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll now move into second reading and a new public hearing on proposed ordinance 2022-22. As the clerk accurately indicated, state law does not require us to reopen the public hearing, but in light of our request that the developer engage in some further conversation with surrounding neighbors and with what looks to be outstanding attendance on the part of some of those neighbors, we're going to go ahead and open this up for public hearing. Once again, what I would ask is, as much as possible, we're not going to, manage every word. If people can, to the extent they are able, try not to be repetitive of what they've already shared with us, great. But I promise you, we're not going to cut you off and turn the microphone off. So with that, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Common Council. My name is Stephen Studer. I'm a partner with the law firm of Krieg DeVault with office at 4101 Edison Lakes Parkway here in Mishawaka, 46545. With me this evening is Mr. Mike Dancha, Danch Harner Associates. As the President indicated, we're here tonight with respect to the proposed annexation and rezoning to S-2 PUD, approximately 60 acres into the city of Mishawaka. First, by the way, let me say that having appeared countless times in the old chamber for over 2.5 decades, this is an absolutely beautiful facility, and you and the city administration should be rightfully proud of this. Congratulations. At the request of the council, at the September meeting, they requested that the owners and prospective developers meet with the neighborhood at Judy Creek. We did so. Mr. Danch and I met with them on September 22nd for approximately 2 hours. Prior to that, Mr. Prince, on September 13th, had in response to written questions from the Homeowners Association, answered approximately 17 questions in writing. Some of those questions came up again that evening, but in any event, Mr. Prince did an admirable job of responding to those questions that the Homeowners Association had at that time. So Mr. Danch and I met with approximately 50 members of the Judy Creek Homeowners Association. The bulk of the questions actually related to traffic. We explained that before the development could go forward, that a traffic impact study would be conducted at the developer's cost, but that it was premature to conduct such a traffic impact study until such time as the property has been transferred and the annexation and the rezoning would be approved. But that is clearly a condition that was set forth as part of the recommendations of the staff. The other concerns of many of the several attendees felt that no one was looking out for their interests. We replied that, in fact, Mr. Prince and the staff did an incredible job, actually, of requiring nearly 2.5 pages, almost 30 different conditions as a requirement for this annexation rezoning to come into the city of Mishawaka. Includes sewer and water have to be brought by the developer, which is, you can understand, is a cost of millions of dollars. Lighting, landscaping, in addition to the traffic impact studies. All of this was set out in the staff report, and we understand that homeowners have had access to that staff report. So those 2.5 pages of conditions that the developers accepted, in our opinion anyway, represent a very strong part on the part of the city to make sure that the development is going to come into the city appropriately. But we are excited about this project. We're excited about adding almost 60 acres to the city of Mishawaka in the development of the city of Mishawaka, and therefore we ask for a favorable vote tonight. Of course, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Studer? Mrs. Volker.
Hi, thank you. Good to see you. I have a question. In one of you were talking about the different guidelines that the city has put in place, and one of them says filling stations shall be prohibited. So I had a question about, on the site itself, will there be fuel tanks, or how do cars get fuel?
I don't know the answer whether there'll be actually on-site fuel tanks for the automobile mall, but there won't be any filling stations. But as you know, nowadays, and we've had this discussion, of course, with the Family Express and other buildings, the conditions that people put fuel tanks on now are incredibly safe compared to what they were 15, 20 years ago. They use inert material, double-walled tanks, alarm systems. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure that any fuel tanks would be on site to fuel automobiles for their use would take into account all environmental requests and for both the state and the city.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Mr. Mamalante.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for coming this evening, but more importantly, thank you for taking your time to our request to meet with the neighborhood association. I know it was very well attended, and I thought you guys provided some information that they were looking to receive. I was just curious, and I can ask some of the folks when they come up as well, but I thought I'd start with you. Since that evening in that meeting, have you been in contact with anyone from that association in regards to any concerns that they may have or any additions or subtractions to Mr. Prince's extensive list of guidelines?
Thank you, and thank you for attending that evening, by the way. We appreciated that. I think you will remember that we were specifically seeing if there were any parts of the project that we might be able to improve upon. Traffic, we can't really address at this point until an impact study is completed. That's a cost of $100,000 or more for a traffic impact study for that area. As Mr. Prince already alluded to, there'll probably be turn lanes center lanes, and maybe signalization, all of which has to be underwritten and paid for by the developer. We asked that night if there's anything specific about the project. We did actually receive some positive responses after the meeting that they appreciate the fact it was coming in as a planned unit development as opposed to that property becoming in piecemeal, acre at a time, 2 acres at a time, et cetera. I think most of the attendees at that night recognized that this was not going to be farmland forever, given the Beacon project to the north of the toll road. Now that this is contiguous to the city, that this is going to be developed in some manner. And several members commented that they appreciated the fact it would come in as a planned unit development rather than, as I said, piecemeal. We haven't heard, as far as we know, and we talked to the proposed developer, we haven't heard one word yet from any of the attendees that night. We hope that we answered all their questions as best we could. We respected the fact that they were all there and appreciated the fact they were there. There was some confusion as to why they didn't receive notice earlier, and I think we explained that at the time, why it didn't happen, but we were thankful for the opportunity to meet with I think, as I said, we had 50-plus people there that evening for almost 2 hours, so I think it was well attended. I think both parties were respectful of one another. We hope we answered the questions, but some of the questions we just cannot answer at this time, either for competitive reasons or because we don't have the answers. We won't have the answers until the annexation and the rezoning take place in order for the developer to actually put real dollars into the project.
Thank you.
Other questions from the council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance, if you would, please come forward.
My name is Joe Grable. I reside at 602 Lincoln Way West in the fair city of Mishawaka, formerly a resident of Granger. I've appeared before this body and its predecessors countless times in a capacity as a real estate broker and in a capacity as a real estate developer. In this case, I'm just coming as a common citizen, a citizen of Mishawaka. I have no financial stake in this development, and I'm not involved in the brokerage. I think it's important, if the city isn't growing, the city is dying, right? And sometimes we fail to recognize that. And this is an incredible opportunity. There were folks, South Bend had the opportunity to have University Park Mall, and they chose not to because they didn't want to extend the infrastructure. And I think University Park Mall has been a huge boon. I grew up in Winding Brook, and there were folks in Winding Brook that were opposed to Edison Lakes. I heard them speak about how the traffic was going to negatively impact Winding Brook. My parents still live in Winding Brook, by the way, and they love living in Winding Brook. And Edison Lakes has not in any fashion been a detriment. I was here when folks spoke against the Meyer project and told me that told folks that there were going to be an increase in crime, and likewise the apartment complex behind Meyer on the south side, that there was going to be a dramatic increase in crime and the traffic would be unmanageable. And I think it's been an incredible asset to the community. And so I'm here as a citizen of Mishawaka, excited about this development, excited about seeing more growth from Mishawaka, and exciting to see Mishawaka growing. And I'd encourage you, as folks come up with their potential opposition, like they did for Toscana, which was going to be an increase in crime, like they did for Grandview, I would encourage you, how many of those folks are citizens of Mishawaka? Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Grable, Mr. Mamalante?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Grable, for your comments and opinions. Based on your experience and expertise as a real estate agent, I know some of the concerns that some of the folks had that it would have a negative impact on their property home value. In your experience as a real estate agent or developer or broker, how do you foresee that?
Well, so I want to qualify it by saying I sell commercial real estate for a living. I'm not a residential real estate broker. With that said, I've appeared as an expert witness on numerous occasions, including the lawsuit related to the bridge that crossed from Cam's Island, where the condominium owners next door claimed that it would have an adverse impact, that all the traffic that was the pedestrian traffic would have a detrimental impact. And we conducted a study and demonstrated that the units had actually out-appreciated those. I mean, the same thing was true for Winding Brook, which has performed extremely well. Oftentimes, when these kinds of developments occur, they actually enhance value. And Mr. Matthews here did a development in South Bend that was somewhat controversial at the time. There were homeowners that showed up complaining that they were worried that the intensive residential development for his project was going to be detrimental to their property value. And most of those homes traded for less than $200,000. The homes that Mr. Matthews built were $500,000 and more, and they were, in many cases, on considerably smaller lots. And so my experience is that oftentimes those concerns are wildly overblown, especially in a market like we're in today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Grable?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed resolution, if you would, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition? If so, please come forward to the podium and begin, if you would, by stating your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I had no intention of standing here tonight, but I'm glad I'm here. It is beautiful. Thank you for your presence, for your time, all of you. We're not talking about Grape Road.
Ma'am,
We're
if I
not
could be
typically-
rude, could you?
Oh, I do
Your
apologize.
name and address, please.
Awfully excited. My name is Martha Bennett. I live at 53131 County Cary Drive, Judy Creek Estates. We're not talking about Grape Road. We're not talking about Winding Brook, Winding Woods. We're not talking about UP Mall. We were number 7 to take occupancy in Judy Creek. Farms all around us, just the right spot, closest to everything that we could possibly want. 35 years ago, we moved in. We knew all along this would probably happen. But I'm not speaking for my fellow neighbors behind me, but I got a good feeling I'm speaking for most of them tonight, that a car dealership widening the road, bringing in more lights when we've already got Capitol and the bridge, there's only one in and one out from our neighborhood. For the most part, pretty darn safe neighborhood for that reason alone. We like it that way. That part, we don't want to change. You bring in 58, 60 acres, and you put in a car dealership complete with what we understood but have not gotten further information because we really didn't know there was a meeting before. We don't need to go backwards on that. But it was a surprise. When you add all of that and you add fueling, thank you, Kate, when you add the potential of another stop sign and another road back there, whether or not you're going to connect it, the farm, whether or not you're going to connect that to what exists as Beacon already, all the way to Beacon Parkway, the lines don't add up. We know it's going to be developed into something because that's what we do. But what we don't know and what may have been projected, what things may have said before, that was probably pre-COVID. So I would urge those behind me who went to school for a lot longer than I did, and whom I, except just someone who's paid those taxes and lived there for 35 years. But I want it considered and taken into very close context of what this is going to do as we move forward and decide what's going to be right there. How are we going to develop this? And what is it going to mean? We don't want another Grape Road right there. We don't want a University Park Mall across the street from us. We don't want a car dealership. If it's parceled off, so be it. You may be here again. I thank you for your time. I know there's probably a lot of people that still want to say something, so.
Thank you.
Thank
Are
you.
Any questions from the council? Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to? If there is anyone else who wishes to speak in favor, please come forward. That's fine. It's up to you.
Judy Creek Boulevard. There are 4 families that are going to be most adversely affected by this. if this does go through and the roadway needs to be widened, we will lose a significant chunk of our property as we border along Cleveland Road. The other things that I haven't heard, I do appreciate that that may happen. And yes, we always moved in there knowing that it's going to get developed. It's not going to be that way forever. One question I would have is, why does it have to be a car dealership? Car dealerships, for the most part, are on Grape Road. There is the place right across from Meyer, that agricultural property that's sitting there, prime area for a car dealership. If we move forward with any kind of development, I would ask that first, the traffic study be put ahead of any development. Put some skin in the game, guys. I realize you have some expenses to it, but seriously, don't put the cart before the horse. So do the traffic study. Also, have we looked at an environmental impact study? We have issues right now as a homeowners with the aquifer that has been polluted by the county property across the street. Putting a commercial property where you're going to have high traffic with cars, potential fuel there, as well as you have a body shop, so you have all kinds of solvents. You have a garage where you have solvents and chemicals that are being used. What about those getting into our aquifer? I also saw where we're suggesting using retention ponds. How does that not get down into our aquifer if we're using retention ponds for runoff from the asphalt? Again, I would suggest we do some more homework first. Let's look at the traffic study, get that going ahead of any movement, and then do an environmental impact study as well, because we have problems with our water, and this will only exacerbate. Going forward, I would also like to suggest that put the property to use for development, for homeowners, for apartment complexes. We know that we're short on that. We're not short on car dealerships. So, and I will bide my time to some other residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on, sir, if you would. Are there any questions for this gentleman? Mr. Benicki?
Yes, now, instead of a car dealership, what if Menards wanted to go in there and we had a bunch of truck traffic? Then what do we say about that?
Again, we really don't want to see, and I should have been more clear about it. We don't want to see we don't want to see a commercial property there. That part of town, and really it's still farmland. It's outside of your commercial area. It's on the outer bubble. No, we would prefer to see homes, whether that be apartments or single family dwelling, something along that lines. Not something that's going to increase the traffic. Right now, we already have from about 4:30 to 6:30 getting out of the neighborhood. Good luck trying to make a left-hand turn. When the holidays hit and Black Friday hits, don't even think about making a left-hand turn. Everything has to go to the right, because you've done such a great job at developing that area and pulling traffic off the toll road and out of Elkhart County that we are the thoroughfare. Douglas was supposed to be a thoroughfare, but Cleveland really has been the main artery. So anything that we can do to lessen the amount of traffic, and the report does say that there is quite a bit of traffic, and this will only exacerbate the issue. So I can't see how in good conscience you're going to push this forward without doing the traffic study to determine what that cost is.
And isn't it kind of if somebody wants to buy a piece of property,
Mhm.
and somebody wants to sell a piece of property and they want to sell it to somebody, commercial, I mean, they're getting paid, they should be able to sell it.
Correct. They should be able to sell it. They should be able to develop, but be a good neighbor.
I don't think they're bad neighbors yet. I mean.
No, but
they're-
there's several other things that I'm not going to go into, like property values. I'm sure there's going to be other people that want to discuss property values. This gentleman back here, Mr. Grable, has commercial experience. He doesn't have residential experience, so he can't speak to the potential loss we will take in our property values.
Well, and I kind of understand a little bit on the, getting sucked in, because when I bought my house, I lived in the county, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I got annexed into the city of Mishawaka.
Mhm.
It turned out being a great thing. I mean, it really did.
But we're not getting annexed.
Right.
We're not getting annexed.
Well, let me tell you.
Well, eventually, yes.
As things
Yes,
grow
eventually
outward.
you probably will take us over.
You know, at
And
some
there will
point,
be-
we're
yeah.
expanding.
Yeah.
And
I understand. I understand. We're not going to slow Mishawaka. As much as I would like to protect farmland, I understand it has to go. But I'm also asking for consideration for people that were there first and that set up homes in a great neighborhood. So that's all I'm asking. It's just a little consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mrs. Volk?
Hi, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Question, a comment and a question. The comment is that Mishawaka is not going to take you over. We would never annex property that didn't want to be annexed.
My grandma always told me never say never.
Well,
So,
Good
because,
point.
you know,
So I do have a question though about the water.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me your water problems?
so the county has not admitted to this yet. There's been back and forth on it. For years, they stored their salt on grade. So we have higher levels of sodium and chloride in our water. The garage itself, it's my understanding, for years, there was not a concrete floor where they did repair work. So diesel, fuel, as well as solvents leach down into the ground. That property is being sold, and part of the selling of it is they have to remediate the property because of that. So we are directly affected by that. We have homes that have high levels of salt. We have people that have, if they are on a high sodium or if they're on a low sodium diet, they're warned not to drink the water. This is you can understand where our concern is you're telling us now you want to put a commercial property. And then I see that it's a retention pond and not any way to actually collect the water and take it to a wastewater facility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Mamalante?
Thank you. Thank you for coming this
Thank you.
evening. Just quick question. In Jude Creek Estates or development, how many homes are there? You know, 136.
136,
Okay.
yeah.
And I'm just looking at the aerial view, and we can almost put that into the proposed land or annexation.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around that amount of homes. If you said you wanted homes or residential or apartments, in my opinion, I would think that would create more traffic in the same time fashion as you're having the current issues. Now, I'm just thinking of another Jude Creek right across the street. If you're having issues now, I would think that would be worse than a
It's a possibility. We are speculating.
Sure.
Again, let's put a traffic study in. Put some skin in the game. If you pass that gate, then you're that much closer. But why put the cart ahead of the horse? Why say, hey, we're gonna buy this. This is our plan, and we'll get to that when we get to that. So there is a safety factor at hand here with increased traffic, no matter what the development is. We know that there'll have to be a threshold for accidents or something to happen before the next step is taken. We would rather not that happen.
and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, Mr. Prince or whomever, but I know that the traffic study is going to occur, probably first and foremost.
Okay.
And so in my thought is that the developer or the potential developer would review those traffic studies and determine if the requirements are worth moving forward. And again, that's just my projection or my guess, but I feel that the traffic study will be done and conducted prior to development. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for this gentleman? Then thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Matt Smith. I'm at 53154 County Cary Drive in Jude Creek Estates. First and foremost, I wanted to thank you for postponing the discussion on this. I apologize I could not make the last meeting, but even had I been there, obviously this would have gone to a continuance. So as you stated, you did not have to do that, and we are very appreciative of you taking that time to do that for our group. That said, I'm also the HOA president currently for Jude Creek. And While, yes, the dance group did reach out to us at your recommendation after the fact, it was myself that conducted that meeting. I put together the tentative schedule for that meeting, the timeline for that meeting. I worked with the Jude Creek Golf Course to establish a location for that meeting. And since then, we've not heard a single peep from the developer or from the law firm representing them. So while we were very appreciative of their time that evening, and they certainly, spent their time willingly to join us, we've not heard anything as kind of a follow-up to that. So, with regards to our concern there, I think, it's been pointed out that it's going to develop, and at some point, that's surely going to be the case. And I'm born and raised in Mishawaka, left and came back after graduating Purdue, and wanted to raise a family in this area. And so I'm certainly a proponent of Mishawaka. But I think where the disconnect is coming in tonight is yes, traffic's going to be repeated multiple times, but this is kind of an island community out there where we serve. You've already mentioned that the city doesn't really have an interest in the 136 homes that the tax value that would bring, but it's coming in around us, right? So this is kind of on that north edge, and as we discussed, the utilities that would need to be brought into this area currently would have to come from the Veterans Parkway project off of Douglas. So you're going to have to traverse through open cornfields now that are still undetermined what their use will be to make this final connection to allow this property group to develop. So, understanding that investment is on the developer to do so, that's a timeline that puts this project out many years. So I think what you'll find many of us asking for tonight, and Sean kind of touched on being a good neighbor, is let's slow down a little bit. We've got some time here. This isn't something that needs to kind of come to fruition in the next 2 years or even 5 years at that probably. So I don't really see the harm in slowing this project down, making sure that the traffic studies are done appropriately, making sure that we look at the environmental impacts as a full course concept here, because this is located where it's at within the city limits currently. So I would ask that we take that into consideration. And when the issue of the water in our neighborhood was brought up, I have the latest map here from the county that shows the plume of chloride that runs through our neighborhood. And this has been a case for many, many years. The county's working with us. They're doing a great job to this point of helping us understand what that remediation process looks like for them. But it's a very real, impactful problem in our neighborhood, and we feel that this project in particular may have an impact on that. And Mr. President, you spoke earlier about the Front Street project and the uniqueness of that site and the uniqueness that project brings. This too is a unique project for where it's located. We've got several other areas within the community that could be developed in a similar fashion with much less expense to the developer, I would imagine. And also that wouldn't entail some of these other environmental impacts that we see in our neighborhood and our community. The other thing you mentioned with the sale of the police station was that we want to do what's overall best for the community. And I think we too want that as well. And again, we understand that things are going to develop, but is this the overall best interest of our community? And I think the one thing that concerns me is that this isn't just projected to be a car dealership or a car lot. There's several other layers of commercial zoning that are kind of mixed into this staff report. And so it feels kind of like just a carte blanche of what could happen over the next 10 years. Whereas if there's a very directed project, I think you'd feel more comfort for some of the residents as far as knowing what was going to take place. So with that, again, I just, want to thank you again for your offer of continuance for us and that show of support. We greatly appreciate that. That certainly is not overlooked by any means. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Smith? Mr. Mamalante?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for not only your time this evening, but for all the work and efforts that you put forth at your meeting at Jude Creek. I guess I had asked Mr. Studer the question if he had heard from any of your residents based after the meeting, and you said you have not heard from him or any of his group. So, and you haven't heard from him. So I'm just thinking here, we had this meeting, a very informative meeting, a lot of concerns, a lot of information given. Were you giving them, and did you give them any questions or anything to work on, or any questions or concerns that you, after reading the staff report? I'm a little concerned that neither party has reached out since that.
Yeah, no, and that's a fair statement. I think From our perspective, it's kind of the we were here first type of approach, right? So this is a project that they want to present, as I feel, to us as the neighborhood, or as the area, or to you as the council. So in my opinion, it really should fall to their responsibility to initiate those conversations and initiate the responses. As they stated, we did send a list of questions or concerns over that wasn't a fully exhausted list. And that night, quite honestly, I felt got a little off topic because I tried to kind of keep it on cue there, but you were in attendance, you kind of saw it was just kind of getting a little heated and a lot of things were being repeated. And so we also had to be respectful of the space that was provided to us from a timing perspective too. So no, I don't think anything was really resolved. And quite honestly, I think we probably came away a little more inquisitive on what the next step would be from that group and how they were going to kind of approach that. There were some comments made about, well, we could potentially look at adding a stoplight for your neighborhood. Where does that fall? Where does that fall on the county? Does that fall on the city? Does that fall on the developer? Because one thing that should be noted is the section of land where our entrance is located will remain county. And so, at least that's my understanding to date. And so, as you're heading to the west, you come up over the toll road, and as soon as you cross the bottom of the bridge, you traverse back into the city of Mishawaka. To the east, out of our neighborhood, is currently county to the Capitol Road intersection. My understanding is with this annexation, that would pull a Mishawaka responsibility into maintaining that property of the roadways after they make the additions or modifications that are needed. And so one of our concerns becomes whose responsibility is that section of roadway there that services our neighborhood? And how will that be maintained given the fact that, for a lack of a better term, it's kind of an armpit of responsibility there. The county's probably not going to want to maintain too much effort towards it. And then the city is going to be all around it. So what does that look like for us and where do those responsibilities lie?
I just wanted to add one quick comment, and I think I'm speaking for myself, but I think I speak for the majority of us out here, is the reason that meeting occurred is because when a developer tends to come to us and one of us will ask the question, have you met with the association or surrounding neighbors? And in this case, they had not yet. So that's why we postponed and promoted and encouraged this meeting. And in hopes that when this has happened in the past, our hope is that the developer and the residents can come to a solution or a negotiation. So I had made some suggestions to some folks there is to look over the staff report, look over some of the restrictions and stipulations, and perhaps add some that you want, delete some that you would like, and then go back to the developer. And then my hope was that you guys would come here this evening. You guys, after that meeting, the dialogue had continued. You guys had agreed upon certain things. You're still working on, you're hung up on a few things here and there, but you're still working on it. So I'm a little disappointed in the fact that that dialogue hasn't continued and it's kind of stalled out, so to speak. But those are the questions that I had this evening. Thank you.
In fairness, and while we appreciate the extension there, the continuance, it was still a very narrow window of time. As stated, that meeting took place on the 22nd of September. It's out now October 3rd. So we didn't really have a ton of time to traverse through some of that. So I would take that into consideration too as part of that response.
Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. President. Going along with Mr. Mammalini's question and your answers, when you had that meeting, do you feel that you did come to some kind of consensus, that there was a give and take? Some of the concerns that you had were met and some of the concerns that they had that you agreed upon? Or was it just kind of a one-way street?
I don't think there was any consensus made there. I feel more of our neighborhood was against it after that meeting, just because of really kind of the lack of, I'll be honest with you, I felt they hid a little bit behind your recommendations and relied upon the 2.5 pages of, what Mishawaka is doing to protect us. And that's not to be intended as a negative toward the council. We certainly greatly appreciate that too. But I don't feel that there was any effort put towards helping us or supporting us. It was just, look, Mishawaka's got your best interest right here. This is moving forward. Here's the things that they've done for you already. What more do you want? That's kind of the approach that I felt was taken.
You keep bringing up, a car dealership, and that was the media focused just on the dealership? Nothing else?
Mainly, and with a slight discussion in the layering of the additional zonings that's been requested for that property, yes. But primarily, it was focused around the auto park or auto mall, I believe is what they called it as well.
Okay. You feel with that meeting, do you feel that if you had another meeting, that you could come to a more of a consensus in addressing more concerns than just the one of the auto? Well,
I think potentially, I think again, it goes back to the fact that it feels like this is being kind of, as Sean mentioned, kind of cart before the horse, if you will. Let's get some of these other studies done first and make sure that this really is what that area needs to grow. Because the other concern is, from my perspective, it's probably the relocation of a current automobile park, and what happens to that property that's in existence now. And those tax dollars are just shifted from one location to the other, and then that turns into a development there. So again, I don't know that to be true, but that would be my assumption.
so you addressed with them your concerns about not addressing some of these things like traffic flow and that. And how did they relate to that?
Everything was deferred to the traffic study that will be done. So it was really, from my perspective, it was kind of a hands-off of, hey, we'll get to that part when we get there. And so I think we would just like to see some more answers, some more firm data before proceed forward.
So there was no give and take basically at that meeting.
I don't think the conversation really got to that point. I don't think that was, I feel they showed up to kind of present their side of it, and then we were kind of just pushing back on our side of it. So no, I don't think there was that conversation.
Do you think having another meeting might solve some of those concerns?
I think potentially it could.
Pardon?
Potentially it could, depending on the topic and tone of that meeting. But I think you would certainly have a group of neighbors that is open to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emmons. Other questions for Mr. Smith? And Mr. Smith, I don't want to repeat what you've been asked by my colleagues because they did a good job of asking questions, but I want to make sure that I'm fully understanding what you've shared with us this evening. In terms of changes, compromises, however you want to phrase it, that you would ask the developer to consider, what I heard you talk about was the timing of the traffic study versus the annexation and the project moving forward. So you'd like to see the traffic study first rather than any other activity, correct?
I think so. In my opinion, I would state that as a resident. I haven't had a chance to obviously meet with our board on that, but as a resident, as a neighbor of the community, I would say yes.
Are there any other tangible items like that you're aware of or that you've had communicated to you by your neighbors that you would ask them to consider?
There's also, from my understanding, there's a natural gas line that runs underneath the roadway there. It's a 12 or 14-inch main that services from Elkhart County through that corridor of St. Joe County. So I'd like to see, what that does to the job and how that impacts things. As Sean mentioned, the widening of the roadway there, not only is that coming into backyards and there's a personal impact from a financial standpoint on those homes, but we need to understand how that's going to impact, children playing in the backyards there. Capitol Avenue, I will say the Capitol and Cleveland intersection is extremely narrow and tight. And so, my understanding is that there's a potential for a roadway extension to grab Douglas and make that connection outside of that intersection there, which could potentially defer the traffic down. But that would only solidify my point on why a dealership in that location, if that's going to divert traffic away from that intersection, why would we want to use that space for that zoning purpose?
And I appreciate your comment with regard to the gas line because that triggered another tangible item that I've heard from you and other speakers is the concern about the generalized environmental concern because of what you showed us on the map and what you've experienced as a neighborhood. I heard you and others say that you'd like to hear a little bit more about that concern and how this proposal would impact the environmental integrity of your neighborhood.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I with all due respect, I would think you would expect that as well, given the recent purchase of the Juday Creek Golf Course for the well fields underneath there, and the aquifer that's served. My understanding is that aquifer that the city will now be pulling from is a deeper aquifer, but nonetheless, if we contaminate the one above, it certainly at some point could find its way into that aquifer for you as well.
I agree, and that's why in a couple minutes, once we hear from all the other speakers, when it's time for us to ask some questions, I'm going to ask the developer's attorney to address that.
Gotcha.
And when it comes to the traffic, I'm going to ask our staff, heads up, gentlemen, who put together the report and mentioned traffic in their report to talk a little bit further about that. I will say just as a general comment, and I appreciate the dialogue with regard to holding another meeting, and I'm certainly never adverse to that as a concept, as long as there's a reason for it. And going back to Mr. Mamoletti's comment, and this is not me trying to give you heck, I appreciate the fact that you facilitated the meeting and everything that you did. It's been my experience that when people want to compromise, whomever has some ideas will reach out to the other. And I'm not as worried about who called who as the fact that it didn't take place. And quite frankly, I hold everybody equally accountable for that. I don't assign any blame one more to the other with respect to that. So that's why I'm trying to get at what are the areas of lingering concern that need to be vetted through. We'll try to work through it this evening, and we'll see where it goes. But I appreciate you clarifying those.
Sure. Yep, nope, that's absolutely fair. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. President, councilors, my name is Matt Davis. I'm at 53178 County Cary Drive, and I'm also an officer on the HOA. I think the sentiments that you're hearing this evening, and certainly Mr. Mamoletti at the meeting on the 22nd, there is a lack of trust on how this project is going to move forward on behalf of the development team. And that is in place due to how we've gotten to this spot. I think what you'll see from myself and some of our other neighbors is us talking about the timing and how this feels like it has been pushed very quickly on us, even though I know it will not feel that way from your seats because this first came up a few months ago. But it certainly didn't rise to our attention until very recently. And I want to take the time to thank directly Councilor Bannicky for recommending the meeting that happened on the 22nd, as well as President Hixenbaugh for pushing that forward. That was helpful. But that was really the first step in dialogue. And as you've commented to our board president, Matt Smith, there has not been dialogue since that point in time. We are residents of a neighborhood. We are not lawyers. We do not deal with developments, commercial or otherwise, and we don't know what you're supposed to do through this process. We need some guidance. Developers develop land all the time. This is a plan unit development that they should have lots of information on what to do when approaching neighborhoods that might have a concern with a plan that's going into place. And whether they reached out or we reached out, we would hope that there would have been some outreach and some direction on how to move this forward. How do you resolve a lack of trust and confidence? It's through collaboration and time. And being able to say, Councilor Emmons, that, sitting here one meeting from now, we'll have things figured out. I don't think that's realistic, but I do think that there is an opportunity for that dialogue to figure out a pathway that both parties feel like their voices are heard and that the development is able to take place at a certain point in time. It just feels like right now it is very rushed. One thing that I do have to comment on, and the reason for some of that lack of trust, is it feels like along this process, the development team has done the minimum required by the law in the run-up to this. And that's a big reason why this has been delayed until now for a public hearing where you see this many neighbors showing up. They reached out to only properties within 300 feet of the development site. In fact, at the meeting on the 22nd, you may recall, Councilor, that Mr. Dance shared he would have reached out to the HOA had he known there was an HOA for the neighborhood. And while I really sincerely appreciate both Mr. Danch and Mr. Streeter coming up and listening to our concerns, anybody up here tonight could Google Jude Creek Estates, and in the top 10 responses, you would see that Jude Creek Estates has an HOA. It is not difficult to figure that out. And it speaks to, again, the development team doing the minimum required to get this through. And that's where the lack of trust and confidence in what this will end up being comes from the board and our concerned neighbors. So I would ask that you please allow some time for that trust and that collaboration to take place. Because the beautiful thing with a plan unit development, as we've heard, is that there's 2 pages that were put forward by the city of Mishawaka, and the residents of Jude Creek Estates have had 0 say in that. And yes, we've had 14 days to be able to do an olive branch, but honestly, we all thought that the developer, being that they do these all the time, would maybe be the proactive step. That doesn't mean that we don't own responsibility for doing something, but at the end of the day, this feels as if it's been pushed upon us with the way that we found out about it and the developer taking the minimum steps required by law to ensure that, yes, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, but it took this group telling them to meet with our neighbors to even have that take place. So I'm not surprised that there's still a bit of a lack of trust that this plan unit development is going to take into account our concerns as we move forward.
Thank you. Any questions from the council, Mr. Benicki?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Yeah.
I can appreciate you saying you don't know the process, things like that. Are there any attorneys that live within them 136 homes in your neighborhood?
We have 1 attorney.
Okay. Is he willing to help you guys with some of this type of stuff?
Yes, he's helped us on other matters in the past.
Okay, because when I lived in the neighborhood and they were getting ready to annex us, that's one thing we did was retain an attorney. Everybody kicked in a few bucks, retain an attorney to make sure that we had some negotiating power.
Sure.
And so, you know, I can appreciate that you don't understand the process, but the attorney may know a little bit, or he may be able to contact somebody that could. So, and then, you know, when some of these negotiations are happening, I don't know if it's easier having minimal amount of people at the table.
Sure.
Or having 100 people at the table. I would think the more people there, sometimes it muddies that water a little bit. You know, if you can just find a few people to make
Sure.
communication easier,
Sure.
that might help as well.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with you, Mr. Bannicky. And I think it also speaks to the importance of the timeline that we're talking about here. I mean, we just had this meeting on the 22nd. It got neighbors a little more frustrated about the project. So to go from that to getting everybody's thoughts and feelings together as a board to figure out what is our stance going to be to try to put forward those suggestions to be included in the plan unit development, I think is a pretty escalated timetable when we also have to get the advisement of an attorney because this isn't necessarily the law that this particular lawyer practices. So to ask to do all that in 2 weeks, I think is not realistic, and it certainly did not materialize. But that's why we're asking for a bit of a delay here, because there may be some common ground. But without outreach on behalf of any of the parties, that can't happen, and that certainly has not happened up to this point in time. Again, they did the minimum required, which was, you guys said you have to at least talk with these people because there's value in that process. But there was no negotiation. There was no suggestions for negotiations. It was just the meeting that happened.
And I'm not sure how many days we're into this, but the council has X amount of days to react to this.
Sure.
So we can't continue it indefinitely.
Mhm.
So sooner or later, we have to make some determinations.
Right, and I would ask that you vote it down, and I know that that puts a 1-year pause on things, but in that year, this is a decade-long development. And I really do not think it's a big ask to say, let's put a pause in place for 1 year. And it could be that this exact same development goes forward a year from now, but there are actual concrete pieces that we bring to the table when it comes to specifics around the lights and around the traffic patterns and things of that nature that I think you're hearing from all of us. We'd like to see some steps happen before this just moves forward and we don't have a say in this plan unit development.
Well, I think that we have a little bit better control if we annex it into the city. I mean, they could do this in the county, right along Capitol Avenue somewhere else, and maybe not need the rules and regulations that we have. So.
That's certainly a risk we put in place, but I think we'd all be comfortable with that risk for a 1-year delay.
Well, yes and no.
Neighbors.
Can you guarantee their costs won't go up as far as construction costs? I mean, if, we don't know if they're shovel ready. If they're shovel ready, they could start moving dirt, almost immediately. So if that's the case, then 1 year is huge for a almost 60-acre development.
True. And having been involved in my professional life in greenfield startups and putting businesses in place in other locations, you plan on a lengthy time frame in the run up to that, and those are budgeted for. So I don't think a year is a very long delay to that end.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition, please come forward.
Tim Buczynski, 14700 County Murray Drive. I've lived in Juday Creek Estates for 32 years, and I'm also an HOA board member. First of all, just to clarify something, Mr. Studer had spoke earlier that Ken Prince had been involved with the HOA, and I'm not sure he understands that's not really a correct comment. To my knowledge, the HOA, we weren't involved with any of this until after we heard about it on the news. And the staff report actually went out and got a favorable ruling to the council prior to any involvement from the neighborhood. And basically what I think he was referring to was after that happened, there was a single homeowner that did contact Mr. Prince, but he is not a board member, and we did not receive any response related to that. So we as a HOA and as a neighborhood have not had any direct involvement with Mr. Prince or with the developer. That was just a specific homeowner that dealt with that. But what I wanted to say is, I believe there's a few inherent problems with this project going where it is. And it's not so much that we just don't want it there. There's some specific things. It's going to be a 51-acre auto park, which is very large. And it's within about 500 feet of our entrance, as you've heard earlier, that we only have one entrance to the neighborhood. And we brought that up at our meeting with the developer the other night. And the developer actually mentioned that generally speaking, when you have a neighborhood put in, there's usually at least two entrances. And evidently, when our neighborhood was developed back in the 80s, that was not done, and they can't really fix it. So that's the first problem. Second problem is the development going in on the north side of Cleveland Road is proposed to have two entrances. And it's pretty much landlocked to the east, the west, and the north. So those two entrances have to go on Cleveland Road. So there's no way to change any of that. Also, when we were having our meeting with the developer, the subject of possibly a traffic light going in there came up, and the developer seemed to be interested in that and said that could be looked into. And as we talked about earlier, this traffic study not happening till later was kind of a problem because we were thinking, well, how do we know something's going to happen? But the only thing I'm thinking of is looking at that, about 500 feet or so to the west of our entrance, there's a bridge that goes over the toll road. So even if there was a traffic light put in there, I think with the volume of cars, at some point, they're going to be so backed up on that bridge that that's probably a traffic hazard. And they may not be able to approve putting a light in at our intersection for that reason. Just my thought there. I was going to comment on the 12-inch NIPSCO gas line, but that was already covered. I think that's a huge thing that if that needs to get moved, it may not happen. It may be cost prohibitive. So basically, I thank the council for the opportunity to have time to talk about this some more and listen to our comments. And hopefully you'll see that this project, while it is probably a good project somewhere, just doesn't fit the proposed location. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mrs. Decker. Good to see you again.
Good evening. I'm Tressa Decker, and I live at 53095 Jude Creek Boulevard in Granger. I am also a Mishawaka girl and care very much about the city and appreciate all that you are doing in this process and in many other things that you are involved with. So I just want to point out a couple of things in addition to what you've already heard. So one detail is that in the proposal that was shared with us at our meeting and at the previous council meeting that we were at, this proposed development was described as 52 acres. And actually on the sheet that the developer gave to us at our common meeting, it says 50.15 acres. Now tonight, we're hearing 60 acres. So I'm pointing that out for your reference and wondering if there has been a change in the amount of land being proposed for annexation, and if that needs to be clarified, if that could be clarified. Okay, so that's one. The other thing that I would like to say is Mr. Grable made a comment that if a city isn't growing, it's dying. And I believe it, right? And we want Mishawaka to grow. We think it's been amazing and wonderful to see the different developments happen. This particular location for this particular development does raise questions. So we have a 2-lane road that is a major artery between St. Joe County and Elkhart. We have a uniquely developed subdivision with one entry and exit point. And so I'm concerned that the description we received from the developer said that Mishawaka would be responsible for the road in front of this development, and then the county would be responsible for the roads on the sides, which we've heard. So I'm really concerned about the continuity on Cleveland Road between the Capitol intersection and the Fur Road intersection. Because it sounds like we've got the wide intersection at Capitol that narrows to 2 lanes pretty quickly right after that intersection. It might widen out again to 4 lanes, and then it's going to have to narrow back to 2 lanes before you get to the bridge to go back over the toll road. All of that traffic merging and expanding is going to happen right in front of our subdivision entrance. Okay, there's nowhere else for it to really happen. So that is a huge concern that hasn't really been spoken to. So is there the possibility of a continuity conversation where I don't know how that works. If the city's responsible for X number of feet of the road and the county's responsible for what surrounds it, how does that work? And how do we have continuity and safety in that road? It's the main road that we're on every day, right? Every day, multiple times. I'd also like to point out that PHM school buses are up and down Cleveland Road on all 3 of their bus routes for elementary, middle, and high school routes in and out of Jude Creek Estates. So another consideration for that is how would their access be affected with this kind of development right there, given our unique traffic flow. And that's really it. I do appreciate Mr. Mamaleni for attending our meeting and appreciate all of your time.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Decker? Thank you, Tressa.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
My name is Roger Lum. I live at 53208 St. Matthews Court in Jude Creek Estates. I am not an HOA board member, but I am the originator of all the questions. And at this point, I want to say thank you to Kim Prince, who responded. We heard nothing from Danch. 0. Other than what they talked about at the meeting at Jude Creek. That's one of the concerns that we have in lack of trust. So that's the question. That's the only point I want to make. Everybody else has made all these other points. It's just that we're not developers. Yes, we do have a lawyer in the development, but we don't want to incur more costs. And he may not do this type of law, and he may not be allowed to do this type of law because of the relationship with Mishawaka. We don't know. We didn't ask. But from my standpoint, I expected a response. I got one from Ken, but nothing from anybody else. So if you want us to trust people, then be honest with us. And Mr. Manicki, you may remember me at one meeting concerning the well field. you made a comment that you might annex Jude Creek Estates. And I said, well, Mr. Panicki, if I wanted to live in Mishawaka, I wouldn't move there. I don't want to. And I don't think any of us in Jude Creek Estates do, but we are now becoming an island with Mishawaka surrounding us. One says you might annex us. One says we don't want to annex you. So here again, these are all questions that we have. But the biggest issue is the lack of response, written response to our questions. That's it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sir, let me, I wasn't part of the other conversations, but I'll go on record in front of everybody here, including you, as saying that I haven't been involved in one conversation with regard to the annexation of this subdivision. And in my time on the council, I don't recall one involuntary annexation that we've entertained in front of this council. This is a voluntary annexation. This landowner asked to have the property come into Mishawaka, and that's overwhelmingly so unanimously, always the case in my experience. So I appreciate your concern, and
Well, just
like-
a big comment, Ken Prince made exactly the same comment in his written response, along with the redirection of the road to get around to Douglas overpass for the railroads. You know, all of this, he responded. I'll give him all the credit in the world, because I'm not the nicest person when it comes to questions I want to have answered.
Well, and I was also on the email train, and I thought you did a fine job. I thought your questions were very well posed, and it probably scares Mr. Prince that I'm saying the same thing that he did and that I agree with him. But hopefully that gives you some comfort level from that now you're hearing the same thing.
Well, at
from
least
two
I'm
different-
hearing it from number one and number two. So that was a good thing.
There you
So,
go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition, if you would, please come forward.
I hate to say that this is the walk of shame, but my name is Brian Tanner, 525 Calhoun Street, Mishawaka. I was not planning on speaking on this topic today. I am speaking simply as a tax-paying resident of the city of Mishawaka. The comment was made about how great Edison Lakes is, and I couldn't agree more with the aspect that I work in Edison Lakes. But if we're going to talk about how grand it is, we must also accept the fact that the corporate founder of Edison Lakes Development is moving to downtown Mishawaka, which I find great, but you can't exactly use it as a universal accolades as to how great the north side of Mishawaka is. University Park Mall may have started a tremendous amount of growth on the north side of Mishawaka, but if you've been there recently, there's a lot of vacant stores. There's a lot of large vacant stores. And some of the infill within the mall is borderline flea market. So we can't exactly talk about the grandeur of University Park Mall that was 40 years ago or even 20 years ago. We must talk about that today whenever it comes to the commercial development of the north side of Mishawaka. What I'd like to ask the council consider, again, as it affects a taxpaying citizen of Mishawaka, is that there has been a lot of legal meandering toward dark store reassessments and legal challenges to the assessed value of dark stores and big box stores in the city of Mishawaka, as well as the whole region and, quite frankly, the country. This development wouldn't be under consideration if not for a dealership which already exists in the city that is proposing spending a considerable amount of money for this development to move from their current location, unless I'm mistaken, and this is an expansion, in which case I have to eat my own words. But if this is a move from a current location inside the city of Mishawaka, that creates a significant vacancy inside the city of Mishawaka and exacerbates the legal capacity of big box stores along our major commercial corridors on the north side of town to devalue their assessed values, which means it's a decreased capacity for the city of Mishawaka to collect what is already its tax base through those corridors. The cost of infrastructure is not just upfront. So even though this is a new development, which is proposing and that the developer would be responsible for the cost of installation of new infrastructure, that is only representative of the upfront cost. As Mr. Prince mentioned, this is 0.5% of the land mass of the city of Mishawaka, but we're talking about several $1 million worth of infrastructure to build in not just roadway, but sewer, water, and other utilities to extend to this location. That is also landlocked to already established county-developed properties that limit the amount of development that can happen inside the city of Mishawaka, which limits the ability of the city of Mishawaka to capitalize on any future development in this area to offset those long-term maintenance and eventual replacement costs to that infrastructure. A growing city does not have to be outward. It can be inward, it can be upward, and it can be in place of where it's at currently. I could go on. I honestly, I wrote several notes based on the comments that were made, but quite honestly, that's the extent of how I believe this project would affect myself, other existing taxpaying residents of Mishawaka. Even though this may be on the opposite side of town where I reside, it does have a tangible financial impact on myself and other residents, and quite frankly, other business owners within the city. It's not that I'm against the development. I just think that these are considerations that must be weighed on every development that is in greenfield areas outward from the current boundaries of the city of Mishawaka. It goes beyond the services that are extended to this location, fire, police, planning, et cetera. It's the long-term infrastructure maintenance and replacement costs and our ability to recoup those through collected taxes over time, and the devaluation of current properties due to the replacement of an existing site with a new outward development. Open to any questions if you may have some, but.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Tanner? Mr. Tanner, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Just a couple follow-ups. I suspect that you would agree with me, particularly since you are a former member of this body, that that type of expansive review that you've encouraged the council to do has long been our practice, and that we do consider these issues from all angles. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And while you make some valid points, and I do appreciate you sharing those with us, would you also agree that it is not an either or, whether a city can develop internally or externally? That ideally, high-quality, well-thought-out development can take place in both manners, not to the detriment of anyone within the city, but that it's not an either-or dichotomy, that both can occur at the same time.
I do agree with that, and I also would counter that there is a tremendous amount of developable land to this order of magnitude immediately adjacent or within the city of Mishawaka boundary as it stands today.
Again, a point I agree with, but would you also agree with me that part of what we enjoy as Americans, part of the American dream, if you will, is for an individual who has an opportunity to sell their property to be able to exercise that opportunity and to be able to benefit themselves and their family?
I do not contend, or do I wish to debate constitutional law on property rights and the strength of them throughout the land that we love. This is strictly my opinion as it applies to the consideration of the costs and the incumbent long-term expenses that are incurred to the city by way of a development of this nature.
And then finally, you know that when I say that, I usually have like 3 more questions that I'll follow up with, but I'll try to stick to it with you. Finally, would you agree with me that when property is annexed into the city and then ultimately developed, that also has a positive impact on the community with regard to maintaining a stable financial posture and a stable tax rate? So while there are some expenses that are attendant to this, and we already heard earlier in the evening that, in the opinion of all our departments, that there isn't going to be any quantifiable expense per se that Mishawaka is going to incur here. Going back to my root question, would you agree that there also is a countervailing benefit to the city when there is growth internally and on our outskirts?
Yes, to a degree. The analogy that I would refer to is that in the 1970s, the federal government provided a lot of subsidies to expand infrastructure for water and wastewater and things of that nature that many communities are paying for today without the capacity or the ability to pay for that growth. So sometimes induced growth that does not pay for itself is bad growth.
Well, I agree. We could find examples, on either side of the equation. But my focus is not on the 1970s. My focus is on what's in front of me this evening. But I appreciate the information that you've shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration, and I appreciate the time and
And
entertaining my questions.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Then at this point, we will open it up for questions and comments from the council. And as I promised, I'm going to start out with a few questions for Mr. Studer. So, Mr. Studer, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like an opportunity also to clarify some of the comments that were made, if you don't mind. Mr. Buczynski said that as a member of the homeowner association, he didn't receive a copy of the written comments from Mr. Prince. I'm happy to enter this into the record. We have a letter from Mr. Lum and a letter from an email from Mr. Smith, who's the president, saying, "Good morning. Thank you for your responses, Mr. Prince. There was some good information here along with some interesting details I was not aware of regarding the area. We look forward to the more discussion for those interested in attending our meeting September 22, signed Matt Smith, President HOA." So in fact, the HOA did receive these written comments. So I just want to clarify the record because I don't want to think that a non-board member, who Mr. Lum, who had initiated these comments, didn't share these information, but Mr. Smith actually was an attendee. And also, Mr. Lum also copied Mr. Metters, who is, as you know, a county engineer. He copied a number of people from Mishawaka, including Ms. Jamrose, Mayor Wood, a lot of other people, and a lot of people from the county all copied on these emails. So there's a number of people that received this email in Mr. Prince's written conversations and his comments directly regarding those 17 questions. I just want to clarify the record. I'm happy to enter that into the record if the council would like that.
I appreciate that, Councilor, duly noted. I will say that at this point in time, I have very little interest in who notified who via email or otherwise about anything here.
Fair enough.
What I want to focus on are the issues that are in front of us and answering some of the questions.
Absolutely.
So, having had some interaction with you in the past, I know that you practice in the area of environmental law in addition to some of the areas that you practice in. So we've heard some concerns this evening with regard to this development as it impacts environmental related concerns in this vicinity. Could you address those, please?
I'd be happy to. So just in terms of background, as you may know, I represented the city in connection with the removal of 57 buildings from downtown Mishawaka. I also helped form the Regional Water Sewer District for the county and still act as counsel to them. As Mr. Prince noted in his comments, we have more septic systems in this county than any other county in the state of Indiana. And it's a huge concern. In fact, that's one of the issues that Mr. Prince addressed, that he is insisting as part of his recommendation for the annexation and rezoning to go forward, that we bring sewer and water at the expense of several millions of dollars. So we will have sewer out there. So when people are concerned about where does this stuff go, it's going to go in the sewer system. And Mishawaka is a very strong ordinance with respect to what goes to the sewer. And we're going to be committed and have to follow Mishawaka's ordinance with respect to sewer. So we're bringing sewer and water to this site. Yes, there are retention ponds. There were two conditions 12 and 13, that Mr. Prince addressed in terms of the stormwater detention. That's only for stormwater detention. As you all know, that the city requires that any rains that fall upon the property cannot be put in the sewer system, right? That's why we have all the problems we've had with the sewer system in the past. Those waters have to be retained on site, but not going to be injected into the water. It can be retention basins. That's a standard procedure for every development within the city of Mishawaka. But in terms of anything, we're going to have anything to deal with environmental issues, we will have sewer on site. That's a condition to bring this project to Mishawaka, and that's a cost of $7 million. Also, as you mentioned, Mr. President, there's taxes that will be paid by this development to support those utilities, as well as the other utilities. That's why the fiscal plan, which was adopted 7-0 tonight, indicated that all of those departments said that they could support services to this community. So in terms of environmental concerns, we have not. Those are going to be addressed. They have to be addressed. Mr. Prince made them a condition of the recommendation. As you indicated, I've been an environmental lawyer for a number of years, and there's just absolutely no realistic concern about what's going to happen to this site. It's farmland. There's actually probably more issues with this farmland, with atrazide and other chemicals being placed on the farmland, than it would be from sewer and water being placed out there and addressing the issues out there. So in terms of the salt condition that was brought up, that's a county issue. We have nothing to do with that. We understand that's a concern. That's a concern with septic. It's a concern with with well systems, right? That's why we're bringing sewer and water to this community.
As a follow-up, can you address the specific, and in my opinion, well-taken point that was raised by several speakers with regard to the natural gas line, I'm sorry, and how that will be impacted, if at all, by this development?
They're aware of that. Mr. Danch is aware of that line. I've also represented a number of oil companies over the years. Lines can be moved if they have to be moved. As part of the traffic impact study, all those issues would have to be addressed. There may be a light at the entrance of Jude Creek. We don't know. The traffic impact study, however, which should be conducted by a professional organization, paid for by, it'd be conducted, I believe, in large part by the city and the county, because there will be joint ownership of some roads near there. We work with them all the time. The city worked with the county, and county worked with the city in terms of maintaining those roads. But that road could have to be developed in connection with that traffic impact study. And that may require signalization, as Mr. Prince noted, and our people will have to pay for that. So it's a very, very expensive. This is a multi-million dollar project coming out to Mishawaka. And so, I heard someone say, well, a year pause won't hurt anything. I would tell you, this project won't be there in a year. This is time-critical project. It's a large project. They need 50 acres. There was a question about why 60 acres versus 50 acres. I would tell you that. Mr. Danch can tell you that more precisely. But the issue there, we have to take into account, we have to also annex some roadway. So the development is 50 acres, but the annexation is 60 acres. It includes other areas of property that, through the annexation laws, we have to acquire as well. Is that correct? Thank you. So that's the difference between 50 and 60. We're only building 50 acres, but we have to acquire 60 acres because we have to acquire the roadway as well. Just like Beacon had acquired that portion of the toll road in order to get continuity on the south side of the toll road. So we're doing the same thing.
One of the other points that was brought up that I think is a legitimate question is with regard to the acreage. May seem inconsequential to folks, but I don't at all dispute that I'd want to know that I was receiving accurate information if I was in their shoes. I suspect you would as well. So as I look at the staff report, it refers to this being 51.52 acres.
Right.
What are we talking about here?
We have a site plan. You want to hand up? And this was presented to the members of the public at the HOA meeting as well. We also had it up on a board.
I'm working my way to you, Mr. Prince.
Is there going to be enough?
All right, now that we all have this, and we have an electronic version of this, but for the benefit of the people who don't have it in front of them and don't have the staff report in front of them, what are we talking about in terms of the acreage? What's the acreage on this site? And if Mr. Danch is going to speak, please introduce yourself, sir. You probably would have.
Mike Danch from Dan Charner Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive in South Bend, also representing the petitioner in this case. What we had been asked to do is that the acres that you see there for the 50, that's basically the development itself. What Ken had also asked us to do is to take in additional land for Capitol Avenue. So that takes in both sides of Capitol Avenue. Capitol Avenue has a varied right-of-way of 300 feet and in some places more. So it matched, if you take a look up at the very northeast corner of the site plan, there was additional right-of-way taken there. We also have to take in both sides of Cleveland Road along our entire frontage. So that's what we call gross acres. Net acres is that 50 acres. That's the actual developmental area. As part of when we were doing the preliminary site plan, there was going to be additional right-of-way that was requested to be taken for Cleveland Road that would come out of the development area. So that took down that amount down to 50 acres, and that was plus or minus.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
No problem.
Mr. Studer, I'm going to jump back to you. Is there anything else that you want to add for the record in terms of a response to what we've heard this evening?
Well, I think one of the last speakers said it best, right? We did look for compromises that evening. We asked specifically, what can we do to make this project more palatable? The answer was, and it was here tonight as well, we don't want commercial property. They don't want a Menard, they don't want any commercial property. Somebody mentioned about residential property there. We are of the opinion that, first of all, if you put high-density residential in there, there'd be even more traffic, more issues. This site will not generate nearly as much traffic as 50 acres of residential property would be. But beyond that, it became clear to us at that evening, and clear tonight as well, that many of the homeowners just don't want commercial property there, and they don't want to be encroached by Mishawaka. We appreciate that. But, one of the comments was made about what, there's other places to put this. Well, as you all know, in the real estate market, you have willing buyers and willing sellers. And we don't always get a chance. There may be another 50 acres in the city that's not available. There are a lot of 50-acre sites outside the city. There are a lot of 50-acre sites in the county and other nearby areas. This particular developer wants to be in Mishawaka. They're willing to spend the millions of dollars it takes to make this a first-class development. And they're willing to accept, as I said, and even though the homeowners may not appreciate the fact that Mr. Prince had 2.5 pages of conditions, they're very expensive conditions for us, right? It deals with everything in terms of uses, no filling stations, drain, sewer, and water, traffic impact studies, lighting, landscaping. I mean, you can read them yourself. I'm sure you all have in the staff report. Those are all very expensive. It would have been a lot easier if somebody just said, go out there and develop. Don't come into the city. Just develop on sewer and septic and build 50 acres in the county. Would have been fine, right? It's not what this developer wanted to do. We wanted to be annexed in the city. It's important to them to be part of the city. And so we're here. We understand that there's people that don't want this project in the city. They don't want to be encroached by the city. But we think this is a great project for the city of Mishawaka. I've heard anything that says it's not a good project for the city of Mishawaka, except maybe the last speaker who, and I'm really not sure I understand all of his arguments, but I would tell you that from our perspective, we didn't hear one argument to that this is not good for the city of Mishawaka. It may not be good for the people in Jude Creek. We get that. They don't want it. But we think there's a good project for the city of Mishawaka, and we would encourage your favorable vote tonight for that.
Thank you. Have my questions elicited any other questions on the part of the council for Mr. Studer? Mr. Mammaletti?
Thank you, Mr. Hicksonball. Thank you very much for the clarification and answers to Mr. Hicksonball's question. And I apologize in advance if I've missed it in any way, shape, or form. But have we given the name of the dealership or the group or whomever at this point in time? Have we?
No, I would tell you that for competitive reasons and confidential reasons, we're representing an acquisition company. You can imagine in this day and age, there's a lot of speculation, and I can't even comment on the speculation made here tonight. All I can tell you is that this is a first-class operator. They will be an incredible citizen of the city of Mishawaka, but we're not at liberty to discuss the actual name of the ultimate user is being acquired because of just competitive reasons that this is not a done deal, right? This won't not be a done deal unless we get annexation in the PUD. At which point, then we've got to get the actual the deal done, and then we've got to have the developer start doing the things that Mr. Prince and Ms. Jamrose and others want done in order to make this project work. So we're just not, there's not liberty. I wish we could. Trust me, I think that it would be very impressive. But this is a very, very large, multi-million-dollar project, first-class operation, and this operator is absolutely first-class operator.
Could you answer if they are currently located in the city of Mishawaka?
I cannot answer that. I can't. I mean, I really can't. Anything I would say, I was reading the other day about you cannot confirm and cannot deny.
Sure.
Because
No, I understand that.
It just, if I say yes, then people speculate. If I say no, then people say, well, so I'm just not at liberty to say that. I have asked that before, but for competitive reasons, this has to be remain confidential. And so, but we've worked very closely with the staff. And you look at those conditions, it's not just Mr. Prince makes the decisions. A lot of these are going to be made by the city engineering and other departments as well. So this is a full-scale involvement by all the city departments. So this is not carte blanche for us to go in there and just develop the site willy-nilly. This is a very, very expensive project.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Studer, Mr. Evans?
Yeah, looking at this drawing here and looking that you're going to have basically 5 different dealerships proposed. And with the body shop and with the used car lot and also with the service center. you know, we only have so many car dealerships. And that, are we gonna take all these dealerships from Grape Road and that, and come over to here, and then have all that property and the problem vacant at the other car dealerships? Are we trading one spot for another?
Well, I don't know. I don't think you are. I would tell you that,
I mean, are we gonna be stuck with a lot of open land that was car dealerships? Because they wanted to be all together? And then we got all that property?
without
Vacant.
acknowledging anything, I would tell you that there's a risk if this is not approved, you may end up with that situation anyway. Except you won't have a new dealership. If you look at these auto malls that are popped up around the country, they're minimum of 50 acres. They're multi-dealerships. The manufacturers are requiring, if you want to sell our cars, my late grandfather's father was kicked out by Henry Ford because he wouldn't put glass front in his dealership, and Henry Ford's going to take the dealership away from you then, right? That's back in the 1920s, right? Because Henry Ford said, I want a dealership, and my grandfather said, I sell enough cars without a dealership. And he said, you owe the franchise. Car dealers now are under such strict restrictions in terms of what the dealerships look like, what they can handle, that this is a new age for automobile. With electric vehicles coming on board, a lot of things have to change. And current facilities don't always necessarily meet those requirements. So, I don't think you're going to end up with that problem, candidly.
You know, my concern is you're gonna have big box stores basically empty, you know. I'm just concerned about that.
Yeah. Well, many of those dealerships, as you may know, are not owned by the dealerships.
No, I
Right?
understand.
So
I understand.
taxes will go on because whether the dealership would be there or not,
Yeah,
the owner of the land still has to pay taxes.
I'm just concerned I have a big empty spot and you're creating a new spot for them just to move.
I honestly don't think that's going to be the case. I think that if and when an announcement can be made, I think it'll be a positive all the way around for the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Stewart? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Before I ask Mr. Prince for some questions, in my rush to ask my earlier set of questions, I neglected to inquire whether there is anybody participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition. For the record, no one is chiming in. So, Mr. Prince?
Mr. President, I just wanted to comment that the 60.01 acres that's referenced in the fiscal plan is the annexation area, it does not include any of the toll road. It does include all of Cleveland Road and does include that portion of Capitol. And that is because it's required by law that when we are adjacent to a roadway and we annex, we have to take in the entire roadway. So that's the difference in that portion. And I did not confirm this with Mr. Danch, but it's very common on older areas like this that the legal description will go to the center line of the road. So a little bit of the discrepancy could be that the legal description went to the center line of Cleveland, which is why the 52 versus 50 acres. But we are very defined. We know exactly what area it is. What we can't tell you is how much right-of-way is going to come out of it in the future that'll reduce that overall developable piece.
One of the other valid questions that was raised earlier this evening had to do with the roadway itself and the maintenance of the road, and if there was going to be a stoplight erected, whether it be St. Joe County or the city of Mishawaka that would be involved, or perhaps both. So can you address those concerns?
Yes, so just as the council knows, but I'll do it for just the public. We have many situations where jurisdictions change going throughout the city. If you drive up and down Fur Road as an example, you'll see it widened out where development has happened and then it goes back to 2 lanes. In fact, one of the banes of our existence is going south. So when you go south on Union Street, well, Main Street, then Church Street, then Union Street, then Bremen Highway, all the same road, going to the bypass, it reaches that point. It was a turn back from the state. So when it ceased becoming a state road and came back to the city, we've been incrementally improving it. So we've got it to 5 lanes right to the point where the fire station is. Fire station number 1 is, but then south of that, it goes to 3 lanes, and then it goes to 2 lanes as you go up the hill in the county. And if you can imagine, and this is how we word it, is the city is responsible for our portion and the county is responsible for their portion. But the benefit of that for county residents is our city plows don't lift up their blade when they drive that section to get to the other side, which is also Mishawaka. So we plow that, but in terms of fixing potholes, repair of the road, that falls to whatever the jurisdiction is in that area.
One of the other points that was raised, and I know you didn't draft the staff report, but I'm sure you're very familiar with it. And this is not to criticize anybody who made a comment earlier, but I just want to make sure that I'm reading the staff report correctly. There was a comment with regard to traffic, which again is a valid concern. And as I understood the comment, that individual's reading of the staff report was that this development would exacerbate the traffic in the area. And as I read the staff report, it indicates that with the development that is taking place in that general vicinity beyond this particular site, that irrespective of this site, that the volumes of traffic will remain relatively consistent or continue to increase, which is building upon an increase in traffic that's taken place over 15 years. So is it a foregone conclusion that this development in and of itself would exacerbate the traffic concerns out there, or is it part of a general trend?
So development by its nature, whether it's single family or other, is going to inherently increase the number of trips per day that a road travels. And so incrementally over time, and even in the time that Judy Creek has been there, there's been drastic improvements to Capitol Avenue. And if you can imagine in terms of how traffic engineers route traffic, think of the impact that putting in Capitol Avenue made to the overall transportation network. At the same time, you have the county right now considering relocating Cleveland to bring it down to Douglas, knowing that that's the main commuter line to Elkhart, connecting to the major arterial line that connects South Bend, the north side of Notre Dame, to Mishawaka. That makes perfect sense in terms of that realignment if that comes to fruition. That would also further impact how Cleveland Road will handle traffic over time. But I will say, in terms of the development of this 50 acres, it really, as you noted, if you had apartments on it, if you had single family on it, every one of those, compared to the farm field that's there now, is going to increase the amount of traffic to that area. The question is how you deal with it over time.
For those of us who don't deal with these issues as frequently as you do, is it unusual for the traffic study to take place in the sequence that's been proposed here after the annexation and as the site plan is being developed for the traffic study to take place? Is that out of
Yes,
sequence?
I'm a jack of all trades. I am not an expert in real estate sales, but I can tell you that a year would be completely unreasonable. Normally, how these developments come to fruition is it starts out at a very conceptual level, which is where we're at. And before anything is proposed, the landowner and the prospective developer have to come to some kind of agreement. And that agreement usually has a short window of whether you either make a decision to purchase or you let the property go. So that is where the developer is at right now. And we don't inquire because honestly, it's not relevant to the decision-making process. But that short window is where they're at right now. So literally, there might be a 90-day window where they either have to make a decision on purchasing it or not purchasing the property in terms of moving forward. So I think a year is out of the question. I think the other part of that, when you look at the decision that the council is making right now is really one whether the commercial development should go or if there's modifications to the conditions that make this development palatable. Those are, when you talk about things like traffic, that's an engineered solution. When you talk about things like the gas line, we have a petroleum pipeline that runs to the south side of town. The one thing I can say is that it makes development around it a whole lot more expensive, and the developer here is aware of that. It does not make it impractical. When you look at the expansion of Cleveland Road over time, what's going to likely happen is nobody wants to condemn property from existing landowners, and the developable property here is on the north side. So that likely, as you've seen in other areas, where you pick a side in terms of where that growth of the roadway has to occur, and on Cleveland Road, I can tell you because the developers on the north side, the expansion of that road is going to be pushed north and not pushed to the south. That doesn't mean the existing right-of-way isn't going to be used or have sidewalks or have infrastructure in it. But the likelihood of the right-of-way expanding on the south side by Judy Creek is unlikely because of that additional expense that would be incurred as part of that. Again, I never say never. And the other thing regarding annexation, because we had a discussion on annexation regarding the Judy Creek subdivision. The reason why, it's not that we don't want that property in Mishawaka. I can tell you, because of state law, we have to bring it up to current city standards, and it's a financial improbability. So even if Judy Creek petitioned and wanted to be in the city of Mishawaka right now, for us to bring it up to city standards, we'd have to rip up every single street to put in public sewer and water, and it would be millions and millions of dollars. There would be no long-term return, as Mr. Tanner pointed out regarding the maintenance. The return on that investment would just highly be not practical. That is why the comment was made on the annexation.
And again, with regard to the sequencing of the traffic study, is it or is it not unusual for the traffic study not to have been done at this point?
No, you'd never want to spend I mean, even from a city standpoint, from a developer standpoint, it would be highly unusual to spend that kind of money on a traffic study. Mr. Studer referenced $100,000 for a study. I'm not sure if it'll be that much or not, but still, we're talking about significant dollars for something you have no clue. And also, again, going back to the real estate transaction and the short window you have to make a decision, it's just the conceptual nature that they're asking you to approve or not approve at this point in time. So to spend what would likely be at least 6 months to put together that traffic impact study, only to come back after you spend that $100,000, to come back to ask the fundamental question, conceptually, should this be a commercial development or not be a commercial development? I can tell you again, the traffic impact is an engineering solution. It's not the decision-making that this council is being charged with.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Prince? Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
At this point, are there any additional questions or comments from the council? Mr. Mamalati.
Just real quickly, since I see some familiar faces out in the crowd, a couple experts on utilities and aquifers. Mr. Majewski, could I ask you a couple questions regarding the aquifer and how, if you feel that it's in any danger whatsoever? Yes, please. Yes, so thank you for stepping up. If you could.
Yes, Dave Majewski, Mishawaka Utilities Water Division Manager, 401 East Jefferson.
Sure. And the reason I had asked you to come up is because I remember and recall hearing the word aquifer come out of your mouth several times in the years
Yes, over the
past.
last few years, yeah.
So I thought you would be a great person or resource to bring up and ask a question and some of the concerned residents regarding the potential to contaminate an aquifer nearby.
Yes, and we're aware, I know that brought up, the gentleman had the print of the aquifer, and the shallow aquifer is affected, and it's a narrow plume. It's affected by the chloride. We're utilizing the deep aquifer, and we're on the south end of the aquifer, and our hydrogeologists really no effect. There's a clay barrier over the shallow aquifer. So the penetration of the chloride, we've done multiple tests of the aquifer before we built the well field, or it's under construction right now. We have not seen any issues of, or there should be no issues of contamination with the deeper aquifer. No.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Majewski? Thank you, Dave.
Great, thank you.
At this point, again, any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
The annexation ordinance passes 7-0. Proposed ordinance number 2022-30, an ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, as from time to time amended, commonly known as the zoning ordinance of 1966 of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to rezone from C2 Shopping Center to S1 Extensive Open Space to remain a natural open space due to floodplain vacant land south of 4601 Grape Road.
Mr. President, members of the council, my name's Tony Ricano, 4609 Grape Road, Mishawaka, Indiana. You have the proposal in front of you. I'd be willing to take any questions or concerns you may have.
I applaud you for your brevity, Mr.
Thank you for
Ricano.
placing me where you placed me.
Any questions, Mr. Belovitch?
Well, I have a report to read, Mr. President.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got so excited to try to get you through here that I didn't ask for the committee report. Thank you for reminding me, Mr. Belovitch. May we have the committee report,
Yes,
please?
Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Land Use Planning, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2022-30, report that they have examined said matter and that, in their opinion, it should be adopted. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll now move into any questions that anybody wants to pepper Mr. Ricano with regard to his proposal. Mrs. Volker.
Thank you. I don't have a question, but I just think it's really ingenious of you. I mean, to think about that property and how it can't be used to be developed and, you know, from a financial standpoint, to find a way to reduce your taxes and to
Well,
keep something that,
that came from trial and error. I had a couple opportunities, but two of the companies, Eben Marsh and Dan Charner, both came up each time and gave me the bad news that it's more in a floodplain, so it's not worth the effort. So after 10 years, I thought it was just time to try to make a change.
yeah, well, I think it's smart. And then we've got some natural land that will continue to serve.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Benicki.
No, just more of a comment. You know, thank you. I appreciate that because so many small things try to build right there on Jude Creek, and that's one of the small creeks that I've always tried to protect. And so this is one we won't have to fight again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Mrs. DeMay.
President, I want to thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? If you would, please come forward. Seeing no one, is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Can I call for the question?
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovitch?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaum?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 7-0. Proposed ordinance number 2022-31, an ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, is from time to time amended, commonly known as the zoning ordinance of 1966 of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is vacation of public right-of-way for First Alley between lots 44, 45, 46, and 47, Battelle's Second Park Addition.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President, to the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Land Use Planning, to whom is referred the matter of proposed ordinance 2022-31, report that they have examined said matter and in their opinion should be adopted. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. This is the second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2022-31. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward to the podium. I will say for the record that earlier this evening, Brian McLaughlin was in attendance, and he made what, in my opinion, was a really good decision to vacate the premises after he made his comments. So the record will incorporate by reference his comments that were made during the earlier public hearing. With that, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? Please come forward. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor who is participating remotely? Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Hearing none, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Demay,
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti,
Yes.
Mr. Benicki,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mr. Belovich,
Yes.
Mrs. Volker.
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh.
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 720.
At this time, before we move into the next item, given the time and how long we have been sitting, the chair would entertain a motion to recess for 10 minutes before we reconvene to hear about the civil city budget.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll recess for 10 minutes and then resume with the public hearing on the civil city budget. Thank you.
Excellent. Sorry, Mr. Law.
Bring your
with regard to our council meeting and resume ordinances under second reading.
Yeah.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-32, civil city budget and tax levy for 2023, and the petitioner has asked for an amendment.
Thank you. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to delete the proposed the proposed ordinance in its entirety and substitute in an amendment as presented to the council by the clerk and controller this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to delete proposed ordinance number 2022-32 in its entirety and substitute in an amendment as presented to the council this evening. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. With that, we'll move into the public hearing on proposed ordinance 2022-32 as amended. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. President, Dave Wood, Mayor, council members. Want to thank you also for your involvement in this. This is by far and away our biggest issue that we deal with on an annual basis as far as a time commitment, as far as effort from department managers, all of our departments, civil city, meeting with you folks and on and on. We start this process in June and here it's October and we're still getting close, but not quite there yet. But also want to thank our controller, Becky McGuire, and her staff for always the outstanding job that they do to put together all of the data, all of the information that culminates in you're seeing this and hopefully approving it not too distant future. But as I've said before, as my predecessors have said, budgeting is an art, not a science. Take our best guesses based on experience. I call it intelligence guided by experience, but we tried to put it together, kind of be prognosticators about what we're seeing as far as trends in the market and the economy now and what we think that might translate into in the foreseeable, or at least the near future. We know that it's not an easy thing to do right now with inflation. We're all impacted by it at home. Well, that means we're impacted by it, many times over here at the city and everything that we buy. We know that it's gotten very challenging out there to purchase things that, so we're having to really put some strategy into timing and where we purchase and how we purchase all of that. But, and then that impacts the budget, of course. But we, we are challenged. As I said, it's an art, not a science, but very confident that our team of just outstanding people come together with your input, put it on paper, much as a family would do around the kitchen table and try to live within our means. The budget, it will be balanced as required by law. And I will tell you that we will be eating into our cash reserves if this is approved. It's not necessarily a comfortable position to be in. We've spent a lot of time over the last 5 or so years knowing that the circuit breaker impacts were coming, that we wanted to build up some cash reserves knowing that we would perhaps need to use them for years such as this. So we will be in that somewhat uncomfortable position for me. But as always, we try to budget conservatively and spend conservatively as well. So I will address some of the changes in the budget. As you know, all of our priorities start with this document. This is where everything begins for us. So whether we are going to invest more this year in public safety, That is top priority. It is here in the budget as our top priority. So I'll go through some of these changes. I'll address the bigger ones, even the smaller ones if you want me to, but in the interest of time and a long meeting, I'll just start with some of the bigger issues. As I said, police and fire, that is our top priority. Public service is job one. We are proposing to increase our staff, and that will translate into an $800,000 increase in the budget. And then to cover that, we are using some of our ARPA funds. And so that is also new to the budget. We've never had to budget those in. As you know, also, we're in negotiations right now, so this will play out in that process, but it is our intent to hire new personnel in police as well as fire. Over on the IT side, we're looking to add a new line item, $250,000. It is for service contracts, things such as the security cameras, among other things that will come out of that. We'll look to make sure that those are maintained at a high level. On the engineering side, we are looking to add to the seated budget $200,000. It's for a new project in the Twin Branch Park School area. We know we need to make some improvements there for pedestrian safety. And then we'll take a broader look at making some improvements to the Vistula corridor, which is in much need of some improvements. And we really just don't have a good funding source to cover those improvements. So we are adding that to seed it. That is one way that we can get to that. Such services, motor pool, MVH, we are seeing a huge increase in our gas expenditures, as well as some other increases in materials. So we've added $200,000 to the general budget, and then also MVH, we're adding $25,000 to increase costs. And Madam Controller will probably get up here and correct me if I do misspeak, which I have done in the past, not often, but anyway, if I say a wrong fund or whatever, but I think we'll be all right. We are going to deploy a new ambulance. Are going to a fourth full-time ambulance, 24/7, 365. And so to do that, we need to buy an ambulance. We have put in $356,000 into the budget for that. And we also have a new line item in the budget, which is our EMS funding. We're going to use some of that for that ambulance. But also we are looking to do a new Tahoe in the fire department, new Medic 2 refurb, as well as some other equipment. Over on the code enforcement side, we are adding to seated Humane Society line item an increase of about $117,723. That is to cover our service contract increase for animal control. That is in partnership with Humane Society. Then most of our code vehicles are circa 2010. They've been through the back alleys of Mishawaka for a long time. They're showing their wear. And so we are putting in $150,000 to replace those old hybrid Escapes that have been in good service for us for a long time. Over on in the controllers department, where things such as our insurance and all that are held, we are increasing our insurance premium line item by $200,000. I think that is huge as far as being not a huge increase, but huge as far as just that's a fairly low amount of money to increase that. Thanks to the savings in partnership with our providers, we're always looking to be creative, and we're continually trying to keep those cost increase down and manageable. And I think that is a great thing right there, that we're only having to increase it $200,000 for all of our employees. On the capital side, we're increasing that $250,000. And consulting, $150,000. Capital from general consulting, seated, we're increasing that by $150,000. And then, as you are aware, we are in a new building. It's going to require a lot of supplies and new, whether it's from the letterhead right up through, equipment. We are adding a city hall line item in seated so that we can make sure that we're able to service and then provide in this building for the things that we need. We are making some changes in the personnel lines as far as some of the salaries and things like that and positions, not major, but we, as you know, commissioned a study of compensation. We compared ourselves to many other communities around the state, very similar positions, like-sized departments, like-sized cities, and then also compared job descriptions and that. And we found that by and large, we're mostly competitive with other communities that are similar, with similar positions. We did have some outliers, and so we are attempting to address those outliers starting this year to bring them up to where they need to be and keep us at least competitive or similar to our peers. And so we have done that. We are also looking to do just a couple of changes personnel-wise, as far as maybe changing a couple of job descriptions, one in the building department, and then so I can go through those if you like. You should be pretty well aware of those. You've had access to all of this information that I'm sharing with you. So I will just end there with the updates, other than to say that, again, this was a huge team effort for us, as budget always is. It's always our priority to give you up-to-the-date, current, transparent information at your disposal. You don't have to go to a meeting. You can call us anytime. If you've got a question on it, we very much appreciate all of our department managers meeting with you and the dialogue that we have with the council and you fulfilling your obligations as the fiscal body. So I want to thank you. Again, I want to thank everybody involved in it. It's a huge effort. It's a budget that I feel confident sets us up for success this year, as well as on down the road, puts us in a good position to grow and provide the services that our citizens depend on, and frankly, that we spoil them with in some cases. So anyway, I will defer to any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mayor Wood?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor, I know you may not be able to give a solid number, but next year, what are we looking at? I know you're talking about increasing public safety. What are we looking at for our police department? I know we're staffed at 108 now. That's our manning level. Are you looking at hopefully going higher than that in 23?
So all things are on the table. We are looking at things such, and we are in the middle of a contract negotiation, so I want to protect the integrity of that negotiation. But I would tell you that all things are on the table, but that we are absolutely willing to go higher on personnel at the police department. But the art is in the negotiation, and it's always a give and take, as you know. And so that's where we are.
Second quick question, what percentage of the insurance premiums paid by the city versus the employee?
We're above 96%.
Well, I think maybe the city employees ought to put a statue of you out in front of City Hall if you can hold it at that level.
Well, we intend to hold it at that level for this upcoming year.
Thank you.
Any other questions from Mayor Wood? As always, thank you for the information, and as well, going back to your comments on the budget process, we appreciate the time that you and in particular Mrs. McGuire and the department heads spent with us. It's always a valuable conversation, at least from our perspective, hopefully from yours, with regard to issues financial and otherwise, though they don't always have a chance to discuss. So thank you for that. With regard to the limited number of positions that you mentioned in the wake of the salary comparability study that are going to be adjusted. During the budget discussions, some of those were still under review and hadn't been finalized. So not necessarily this evening, but when you have a chance, if you could provide us with a finalized list of those so that we have that available, that'd be great.
Sure will.
Any other questions for Mayor Wood? Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Matalini.
I was just gonna not ask a question, but more of a comment, but I didn't know with the no vote. I wanted to make an observation and a sincere thank you to, first and foremost, the committee that met with the department heads. I know those are very long evenings, taken away from your family. I unfortunately, due to some conflicts, wasn't able to attend this year, but I always enjoyed the dialogue with the department heads. So I want to thank everybody that was involved, yourself, Ms. McGuire, and all the department heads for their time and efforts that they put forth. I know it's a lot of work, but a second thank you to all the folks on the council that attended those evening meetings. Thank you.
Pass that along to our department managers tomorrow at staff meeting.
Please do.
Any other questions for Mayor Wood? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating online who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? You have one question for Mrs. McGuire. Try to be brief as the hour grows late.
Good evening, Becky McGuire, City Controller.
Can you touch on, and if Mayor Wood touched on this and I missed it, I apologize in advance, but can you touch on, with regard to the budget, how, if at all, the money that we're going to spend or that we're proposing to spend next year would impact the tax rate that citizens are subject to?
Actually, it's not the budget that impacts the tax rate. The tax rate is a simple equation of the max levy, which is the total that the state allows us to come up with to collect is our max levy, and that is divided by our net assessed value. And that comes up with our tax rate.
Okay. So how will the proposed tax rate for the coming year compare to this year's tax rate?
The advertised tax rate, well, it's kind of a two-part answer. We always advertise high, because if we don't advertise high and something happens to our net assessed value, we could lose or not collect our maximum amount. So it's best practice, and financial advisors recommend that in our calculation, we use a lower net assessed value. We underestimate. So if something happens, we are still collecting our full levy. That said, in my estimations, this year, our tax rate was approximately 2.0. I expect our tax rate to be just under 2.0 for 2023.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mrs. McGuire? Thank you again for the work that you do to help us move through the budget hearings. It's always appreciated.
It's a team effort with my staff, and of course, I couldn't make it through without the clerk's office, so we appreciate that.
Thanks again. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? Then pursuant to state law, we will close this public hearing, and for the record, a vote will take place at a subsequent council meeting pursuant to state statute. Thank you.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-33, an ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Mishawaka, chapter 62, article 3, water service, and approving the offering of a water service line warranty program to customers of Mishawaka Municipal Utilities.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President, to the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Public Improvements, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2022-33, report that they have examined said matter and that, in their opinion, it should be adopted. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will now move into second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2022-33. Gentlemen.
Dave Majeski, Mishawaka Utilities Water Division Manager. Good evening, and I'll try to be brief. I had a 30 or 40-minute presentation ready for you guys, but it's past my bedtime, so we'll keep it brief. But West 8th Street, South Merrifield, Terry Lane, Lincoln Way East, East Broadway, West 6th Street, North Elder, Baker Street. These are just a few of the 40-plus customer leaks in 2022. When our people tell a customer it's their leak and they must fix it, and it could cost thousands of dollars, it can be a hard pill to swallow. In many cases, most of our customers tell us they do not have the resources or money to repair the line. Our service people, including myself, hate to tell this to the customer. We would like to change that or give them another option. The ability to provide our customers with leak insurance for a nominal monthly fee and not having the headache of running the program is a no-brainer in my opinion. As I said, many people do not have the $3,000 to $5,000 on average to repair their service line. Home Serve has no deductible and will use local and Mishawaka utility-approved contractors. I appreciate the council's support in what I believe will be a huge benefit to our utility and the citizens of Mishawaka, so I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Majeski? Mrs. DeMay.
Hey, Dave. Can you tell me how much the nominal fee would be, and will it be included in their bill, their monthly bill?
Well, first of all, this is an option. There will be mailing, so it will not be part of the bill. There'll be a separate mailing from Home Serve. And with us tonight is Mike Chambers with Home Serve, and exact cost, Mike can answer that question a little bit better.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. or Mrs. Volper?
Thanks. I just had a quick question about, you said approved vendors, approved plumbers?
Yes, so the contractors, we will give an approved list to Home Serve using local contractors that are familiar with Mishawaka and our standards. So it'll be local people not coming from outside the area to do the repairs.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mamalenti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Majeski, for presenting. Just a quick question, and pardon my lack of memory, but we voted something similar or had heard a presentation similar last year.
Yes.
Or the year before. Okay. And this is.
Yeah, this is the same with Home Serve and doing all our due diligence, et cetera, and reached to that point with somebody that actually is associated with the American Water Works Association, Indiana Rural Water, the Alliance of Rural Water. So it actually has the buy-in of water utilities around the state. In fact, we'll be the second largest water utility if approved to be part of the Home Serve network. I believe Evansville is the largest.
So up until this point, it has not been an option for our ratepayer.
No, it has not been an option, no.
And just to confirm, as you had mentioned, and Mrs. DeMay had mentioned, this is an opt-in service versus
It is opt-in, and we
It's
we
not going to
hope,
automatically show
exactly,
up on their bill and
no,
figure it
no,
out.
there will be no surprises. There will be mailings that go out, and there will be no surprises to the customer. I mean, the big thing is hoping the right people, join the program, so when they call and they have the leak insurance, then it's a simple call to their 800 number, and they get the person out there. Usually, Mike can answer better than I can. Usually, I believe within 24 hours, somebody's out there.
Well, thank you for your work and your efforts in this. I think it's a great service that is offered to our residents, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the council? Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Mike Chambers with Home Serve, and we're the administrators of the National League of Cities Service Line Program. So I'd like to answer council member's question. It's $5.75 per month. Welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Mr. Emmons?
Did you say that it would be billed by your company to the residents, whoever?
That's correct. So it's a fully turnkey program. We handle all the marketing, all the billing, all the customer service, all the claims. There's no cost or anything for the city to participate as well. So everything's handled by us.
Thank you. Thank you. Other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Matt Lynch, right here soon at this August City Hall and Mishawaka Utilities. And glad to be before you, Council President and our honorable council. I'm proud to be here, this new city council and these council chambers, and I'm proud of you all and from where we've come, where we're going. And it's not easy to say that we're Mishawaka and we're going to do the right thing in the right way. And tonight, to me, it's representative in your previous discussions and votes, but from here, and what we're talking about tonight, and in proposed ordinance 2022-33, it's another opportunity for us to serve our residents well. And I had the opportunity to take a few calls, I think 4 of them, since I've been the Executive Director of Development and Legislative Affairs for Mishawaka Utilities, of folks who have leaks and that can't pay for it, right? And we, in some cases, have to turn the water off until that is fixed. And again, there's large costs incorporated in that. I myself, as we moved back into Mishawaka, and I'm glad that we did, ran into a sewer issue, and it was going to cost about $4,000, if not for the sewer insurance that the city has. We take care of our own. We do a great job of taking care of our community. So I would just ask for your approval of this, and that just to piggyback on some of the things that are in the ordinance. The provision by Mishawaka Utilities to its customers of a water service line warranty program as reflected in a resolution. It was passed by the Board of Public Works. The service line warranty shall be offered at no cost to the city, but rather shall be paid by customers who voluntarily decide to participate in the program by purchasing coverage, and which they can drop at any time. The city shall make the water service line warranty available by entering into a contractual agreement with the Utility Service Partners Private Label, Inc., DBA, Service Line Warranties of America. The water service warranty shall cover the property owner responsibility from the meter or the curb box to the external wall of the home. Thawing or frozen water lines, well service lines if applicable. And we did, it was about 5-7 years ago when we did have a lot of lines freeze. And the possibility that exists every single year. So the initial cost, as has been reported, is $5.75. We will get a royalty back to us of 50 cents, and that will go into helping us as a utility to deal with lead water lines and helping to service that. So this is one way to serve our customers, but again, to get some funds back to help us make sure that we're dealing with the lead issue appropriately. I'd be happy to answer your questions, and thank you for your willingness to hear this tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lynch? Mr. Bukolovich?
Mr. Lynch, thank you for coming in tonight and making the presentation. The $575 per month, is there a guaranteed time frame that that premium would be in place?
That will, to start with, or
Yeah.
for how long?
To start with.
To start with, from the time that we,
We haven't had to raise the rates with it since 2014. So that's been, we hope we never have to raise the rates again, but it's been that rate since 2014.
Okay.
So
So this will go if the person who is attempting to acquire the insurance, that would go into effect how quickly?
So it's so as soon as they sign up, they have a 30-day wait period. So after 30 days, they're fully covered. They can file a claim at any time after that.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Lynch? Well, gentlemen, to all of you, thank you for your foresight in bringing this to us. The minimal royalty that the city receives aside, that's important, that not allow us to do some good things. But this really isn't primarily geared toward the benefit of the municipal utilities, as I read it. This is a program that will benefit the taxpayer, the ratepayer, more to the point, and will allow them to avoid a catastrophic situation where they'd have to dig into their own pocket without another source of revenue in order to deal those egregious situations that you've talked about. So I appreciate the work that has gone into it, and the fact that we're able to make this available to our residents. So thank you all.
thank you.
Just one more little question.
Mr. Evans?
Yeah, on your billing, you said it's $575 a month. Instead of billing every month, can people pay it by the year or by the quarter or whatever? What's the payment?
Yeah, very flexible. They can pay yearly. They can pay, quarterly. A lot of residents will just put a, credit card or a debit card on file where that'll come out every month for them. But yeah,
Oh, so
totally
you
up
can
to
do it
them.
on a credit card?
Yes,
and that.
exactly. So
Okay.
yeah, plenty of options for them to make it easy.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions before we let three gentlemen resume? All right. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance, if you would, please come forward to the podium. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishing to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? Is there anyone in attendance this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalunti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonball?
Yes.
The proposed ordinance passes 7-0.
Privilege of the floor. At this time, members of the public are invited to the podium to speak with respect to non-agenda items only under privilege of the floor. Seeing no one, is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak under privilege of the floor? Thank you. With that, we'll move into unfinished business.
Resolution R 2022-17, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, approving a petition of the Mishawaka Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 1017 East Jefferson Boulevard. This is this is a use variance to allow food truck in the parking lot of Pilo's Body Shop, 1017 Jefferson Boulevard.
Thank you. The record will reflect that we have previously received the committee report, so at this time, we will open second reading and further public hearing on stand corrected. This is a resolution, so we have not previously received a committee report, but nevertheless, we will move into an additional public hearing on proposed resolution 2022-17. Good evening, sir.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pilo Bueno. I'm the owner of Pilo's Body Shop at 1017 East Jefferson Boulevard in Mishawaka. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to start. Should I start from the beginning or start from where we left off? To the last time we spoke, we agreed to just to bring clarification of the times and dates of the operation of the food trucks.
My suggestion would be that we focus on that issue to begin with, sir.
Okay, I'm good with that. So what I'm proposing is that I open from 2 to 8 p.m. on Thursdays, 2 to 8 p.m. on Friday, and 10 to 2 p.m. on Sunday, which is 6 hours Friday, 6 hours, 6 hours Thursday, 6 hours Friday, and 4 hours Sunday, what, a total of 16 hours.
I'm sorry, there was some background noise. What are the specific hours on Sunday that you want to?
10 to 2,
10 to 2.
4 hours.
Thank you. All right. Any additional questions from the council? Mrs. Volker.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Bueno. It's nice to meet you.
Likewise.
So I just had a question about, well, first of all, I stopped by, oh, I don't know, maybe a month ago, just to look, and I think maybe you were ill, or there was a sign on the door.
Yes.
So I wasn't able to talk to you, but I did wander next door, and one of the workers next door said that your food is very good.
Well, I appreciate that.
So I had a question, though, about just the state of your parking lot. And I did clarify for myself, just looking at some stuff a minute ago. You drive into the parking lot and the food truck, as you're facing the building, the food truck would be on the left of
The
the
food-
parking lot, not the right.
That's correct, the northeast corner.
So, and then you have parking in front. Are there lines there now for
Yes,
parking?
yes.
And then so you would have 8 parking places?
I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 6
6?
in front.
And then 4 on the side?
I actually have 8 on the side.
So here's my question. Your parking lot's super full. At least it was when I was there, 3 weeks ago, whenever it was. Maybe it's changed. But I was just concerned about how it's all parked up on the right side, as I'm facing the building. On the right side, it was parked up and there was a truck there and it looked like it was hard to maneuver around the lot and then a lot of stuff behind. So, Mike, I was concerned about there being enough space in your lot, frankly, to have a food truck and allow people to park.
Okay, I had already addressed this before, but I'll address it to you again.
Thanks. I don't think I was here.
Okay, so the parking space, now, I was sick, as you were aware, I saw the sign, I got sick from COVID, and it was a rough ride, okay? Not only did I get sick, I was down for 2 weeks plus, all right? Not only did I get sick, my parents got sick as well, so everything was pushed, I was trying to survive. I was busy staying alive rather than focus on my business at
Yeah.
that point.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Okay, well, thank you very much, but when you came by, I was in the middle of a lot of things, and I was halted by the COVID. But what the plan is to put the food truck in the northeast end of the parking lot. We have 3 plus a handicap parking space directly in the front of the body shop. There is 5 additional parking spaces in the front strictly for auto sales. There is 6 altogether, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 parking spaces on the side. Now, there is some cars in the way right now, but like I said, I was in the middle of fixing all that. That's all going to be taken care of, and those spaces will become available. The 8 on the side are going to be strictly for, the 8 on the south end of, just really the east of the building, are going to be strictly for cars that are going to be repaired in the shop. The 6 in the front are strictly for cars for the vending truck. Once again, 4 in the front, actually it's 4 in the front, auto sales, which we're not doing much of anymore. And then 4 in the front for the business. We've never been so busy that we've had issues with parking. There's always been plenty of parking space. So I don't foresee any problem with that. I honestly don't foresee, we've just been surviving rather than booming in the past 5 years. We've had ups and downs, with the business, but we've never got to a point where we got so much cars that we don't know what to do with them, or where to park them. There's always been parking space available.
Okay, well, thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Mr. Mamalati?
Thank you, Mr. President. And this question may be for whomever, but just to clarify, I want to thank you for coming this evening, for sitting through this long meeting.
I appreciate it.
Would have been nice had you pulled the food truck up about here. Personally. But nonetheless, I'm going off of memory from our last meeting, and I think you were very willing to agree to the stipulations that we had put on you. So I appreciate that. So, but I'm going off of memory. Did last time or last discussion, did we say this would be for a year? Would only be a year, correct? And then he would have to come before us. Okay.
For the record, that is my reading of the resolution that's in front of us.
All right. And you're aware of that as well, so.
Yeah, I am aware of that. The only thing I wanted to add to that is that I'm set back now a whole month because I got sick. It's complete. I was trying to do things before winter came. I'm already pretty much pushed into winter. So there's not going to be no food truck period until next spring. Okay, so the only thing I ask is I'll still stick to that stipulation if it starts in the spring, which I believe is fair. I mean, why start it now if I'm not going to be doing nothing now? I haven't even finished the truck, so I decided not to do anything until spring. Yeah, if you guys agree, when spring hits, a year from spring.
My other question would be, is if we approve this evening, would it be on the clock as of approval?
Yeah, I think that's what this says.
Pursuant to the resolution, to address Mr. Mamalati's question, condition 3 indicates in section 1, condition 3 indicates that the use variance shall expire 1 year from the date of common council approval. So as of this evening, the 1-year clock starts to tick.
So be it.
Okay, and you're fine with that, and just, before.
I mean, if I don't have a choice, I don't have a choice.
I mean, I think, in my opinion, would be to agree to that.
Okay.
And come back
Yeah.
prior to expiration, and
Yeah.
we'll revisit at that point. But
Oh, good.
again, I'm very glad that you're back on the mend.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Wish you good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Belvin?
Mr. President, question, if this is passed tonight, is he locked in for the number of hours that we're approving tonight? Can he change that if his business is overrun and he's got so much business, he would like to expand the hours or expand the days?
Mr. Triple, do you want to weigh in on that question?
Agreed to those restricted hours, so they are what they are for his oral representations. Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
And again, the resolution as drafted in condition 2 indicates that the hours of operation shall be no more than 6 hours per day, 3 days per week. And in response to Mr. Belovich's question, my interpretation of what we've heard this evening and the specific schedule that was laid out at our request, and I appreciate that, is that condition now incorporates those oral representations that were made to us this evening. So over the course of this year, as we're going to look to see whether there's been follow through on what has been presented to us this evening, it's going to be this schedule that we heard tonight that we're going to use to measure whether you've complied with what you promised to us that you're going to do. Would you agree with all that, Mr. Triple?
Yes.
Does that answer your question, Mr.
It
Bell?
does.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
I've come here with integrity tonight. My intentions are good. I've said nothing but what I intend to do, okay? Also, I'm not gonna keep running. My intentions are to buy a certain amount of food that I believe is gonna sell in a certain amount of time, and once it's done, it's done. We're not gonna go buy more food because there's more customers and try to go into overtime. I still got a body shop to run, I still got an auto sales to run, and I still got a family to attend.
And I will tell you, we appreciate all that. And we're hopeful that this is going to be a benefit to you and your business and to your boys. I remember you talking about them before, and that would be a great thing. The flip side of it is that there are times when people haven't always followed through. So in order to avoid any misunderstandings and any problems down the road, it's better for us to be specific and for you to understand, for us to make sure that we're all looking at it the same way so that there isn't a problem of an unintended nature somewhere down the road.
I don't have a problem.
Any other questions at this point? I do have one question for you, sir. So with regard to the location of the food truck, I appreciate what you've said, and where it's going to be located makes some sense. In addition to operating out of that building that's going to be right next to the food truck, do you also operate out of the building that's at the intersection of Jefferson and Maplehurst?
No,
So that's a separate operation from you.
the only building I operate from is P 1017.
So the one right next to the food truck, that's it? That's all you have
That's
control over?
That's it.
Excellent. I appreciate that clarification. Any other questions for this gentleman? Then again, thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to hear that you have recovered. We appreciate you being here.
Survived. Survived because
All right.
it was horrible.
Excellent.
And I'm sorry to hear that Mike Compton, Sir Mike Compton is also struggling with that as well.
Thank you. We appreciate that as well. All right. If there are no other questions, then we'll ask whether there's anyone else who wishes to speak in favor. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition? And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
The resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you. New business. Is there any new business to come before the council? Mr. Emmons?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder that my monthly meeting on the 20th of October will have Habitat for Humanity. Mr. Jim Williams will be there to gather public input about a proposed development of affordable housing on the property of the Southwest Little League Park. So that'll be on Thursday, the 20th of October. And again, that is just a question and answer. Nothing is firm. It's just to gather information on a proposed housing development. So look forward to everybody there. Thank you. And again, we'll serve the West End Bakery donuts. And so everybody is invited. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. DeMade?
Mr. President, just want to mention that the October meeting of the West End Neighborhood Watch will be held next Tuesday, October 11th. The guest speaker this month will be Mishawaka PD FOP President Rich Freeman. Officer Freeman will have an open forum to discuss crime and policing in the city of Mishawaka. Sergeant Bruce Valtinsky will also join us to give us a brief update on the West End's latest criminal activity, and the meeting will be held at St. Bavo's School in the Community Center on 8th and West Street, 7 p.m. All are welcome. We will not have donuts.
Thank you. Other new business to come before the council. Mr. Mamalenti?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just would like to officially let Mr. Emmons know he's always welcome to bring West End donuts to these meetings, especially the ones that run late, but I just want to let you know. But on a more serious note, I just want to take this time to thank so many people that had their hand in the new City Hall in the first meeting that we've had here this evening. I know Mayor and Mr. Prince have worked tirelessly to make this happen. I know, I want to thank Madam Clerk as well to make sure everything on the council standpoint is turnkey and smooth as can be. So I want to take this opportunity to thank them all, and especially our IT department. I think they've done an outstanding job. It gets better, each meeting gets better and better. I would like to comment, the quality of these new cameras are a bit frightening as I stare at myself with this big 60-inch TV, but nonetheless, thanks everybody that was involved and pulled everything off to make this evening happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Then along the lines of thank yous, I want to acknowledge some city employees who recently visited the fun fair for the preschool program that my wife participates in as a board member. Gary Wyrick and Andy Williams from Central Services, and Stephen, Yvonne, and Kelsey from the Park Department all were there. They made it a really great experience for the kids. What was particularly intriguing was that I guess they brought out a dump truck and an earth mover, and the preschool kids loved it. So hopefully that incentivizes them to want to be employees of the city of Mishawaka as they age. But that's one of the things that rounds out our involvement as the community to take those extra steps. So I appreciate the involvement of all of our employees in that event. And now I can check that off my to-do list for Mrs. Hickson. So, any other new business to come before the council? Hearing none, then a motion to adjourn would be in order. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Either way, another.